You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hardballs confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nubs. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. There will be no slow motion or still life of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he has been saving for just the proper occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally got down with Jane on Search for Tomorrow, because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry armed women liberationists and Jackie Onassis blowing her nose. The theme song will not be written by Jim Webb or Francis Scott Key, nor sung by Glenn Campbell, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, Engelbert Humperdinck, or The Rare Earth. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back after a message about a white tornado, white lightning, or white people. You will not have to worry about a dove in your bedroom, the tiger in your tank, or the giant in your toilet bowl. The revolution will not go better with Coke. The revolution will not fight germs that may cause bad breath. The revolution will put you in the driver's seat. The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.
I'm talking about Shabaka going crazy. People going crazy in these motherfuckers. Run that shit back, man.
But it means nothing. Nothing about a woman on a day. Man made the car. Carry the heavy load. Man made the electrolyte to take us out of the dark. Man made the boat for the water. Like the 7mm. Man thinks about a little bit of baby girl and a baby boy. Make them happy because man makes them strong. But after man make everything we can, do you know that man makes money to buy from other men? This is a man's world.
Greetings, Black family. Greetings. We are back. We are back with Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced after what, a month
Yeah,
hiatus.
about a month. Yeah, about a month hiatus that I took. Had to go over there into the city of devils. You know what I mean? The economy is shot to hell over there due to the fires that they had, earlier this year over there. Okay, but it is the city of Lost Angels, and you got a whole bunch of lost folks over there in Los Angeles. It was bad. Greetings, crew. What's happening in the Shy? You know what I'm saying? Hope everything is well back there and what have you. In Twin Pyramid, reality was going on. Mac 285, greetings, 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 to everybody. So what we're doing here at Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced, we're tearing it down. We are rebuilding it. They tore down the original like page that we had, where I believe we had about, what was that, Brother Che, about 1,800 followers, I think. So
Yeah.
they went down there and they tore it down. So we're back up to about 50 people now. So please, ladies and gentlemen, like and subscribe to that page, okay? Is because my little cracker box apartment, office, whatever you wish to call it, it is in disarray. As they say, a clean desk is the sign of a sick mind, so the desk is cluttered. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that restores some sense of sanity to me. Okay. Brother Che, already. Todd and Julie.
So let me go over the description. So thank y'all for tuning in to season 10, episode 22 of Grand Rising with Shabaka and the Chase in conjunction. And on this season 10, episode 22 of Grand Rising with Shabaka and the Chase, we'll be discussing several topics. The first one is the dump, as in human shit. And we want to make that perfectly clear.
Who belongs in jail?
Partons, reality TV stars Todd and Julie Chrisley, who served time for tax evasion, bank fraud. Then we got Manhunt intensifies for former Arkansas, good old state of Arkansas, police chief turned escape killer. Officials say there's no credible leads in search of ex-police chief. Then we got New York judge rejects Sean Combs' motion for mistrial, otherwise known as Diddy or the Diddler.
Yeah.
Then we got two federal courts blast Trump sweeping tariffs as unlawful before appeals court steps in. And last but certainly not least, we got Blacc Fatigue. If you ask me, I have white fatigue and tether fatigue. The exhaustion can't ignore.
And then, of course, too, Brother Che, that I added on here that I mentioned with you earlier before we went live. We want to give a shout out there to the president of Burkina Faso, Brother Ibrahim Traore, of the great work of what he is doing over there, okay? And he's kicking out all the colonizers if he hasn't done it already. So hopefully that trend will catch on.
He's not welcoming in another colonizer.
I know.
Russians.
Yeah, I know. So and he paid off all his colonial debt to France, which is a first. You know what I'm saying? And Captain Traore, man, he's younger than you, Brother Che.
Yeah. Yep. He's only what? 30
yeah, he's younger than you. So upon my eventual demise, just off the law of biophysics, okay, I wish it well. I might not be there with you, okay, but we will get to the promised land, people, of us being economically sufficient. Okay, is because
MLK said,
everybody, huh?
That's what MLK said. What 60 years ago? 60.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, without a doubt. And then also too, as we know, is that the fight is coming up. I don't know if they're scheduling for Las Vegas between Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. So quite naturally, of course, we're going with brother Terrence Crawford. You know what I'm saying? I always bet on Blacc. Okay. Want to see him shut him down. You know what I'm saying? And don't let it go to distance and give the judges the night off that night. You know what I mean?
Shut down like our boy shut down Ryan Garcia. Shut him down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you see what I mean? Okay, and then keep in mind, that the hatred of our people is intensifying around the world. Okay, is because we got to turn our back on these Yasa bosses, and we got to let it be publicly known that you're Eric Adams.
You're the boss.
Yeah.
We sick,
Yeah. Just like Brother Malcolm had told us and what have you. You're saying then we got to be extremely careful right now because, like I said, they tore down the original like page on Shabaka's Black Experience Enhancer on Facebook. Okay, but another page has been made by the same name, and so far we're up to 50 followers. And ladies and gentlemen, please share that link on there. And
you'll have to put it in.
Post
I can't do it because I don't have access to Facebook. But he's talking about our Facebook.
Okay.
He's going to put the Twitter page link in the chat.
Right. Okay.
X, whatever.
And follow me. Yeah, okay, and I'm putting it in the chat. Okay, follow me. Follow me at Shabaka, capital EXP on Twitter. And by the way, I think...
by the way, Shabaka, you know what Garvey said, right? He said, you find me in the whirlwind. Shout out, prayers to the family in the Midwest. What is it called? St. Louis got hit with a EF3 tornado, 2 weeks ago? A week and a half ago?
Yeah, something like that.
And now, guess what?
I'll take this.
We got hurricane season right around the corner.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, that is the spirit of the ancestors.
So it looked like the Gulf Coast, Florida, is going to potentially get messed up next week, or week after next. Okay. And then for all of those of you over the years that have challenged me to go to the South, I've been down to the South, been through the South, didn't dig it, and won't be going back to the South. You know what I'm saying? Although we got a lot of history down there and what have you. And then, of course, we need the reparations now, to say, is because, and I will no longer be arguing with idiots and plants about, you Negroes don't deserve reparations, blah, 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 blah. And had it not would have been for us, the United States would have not have been the economical powerhouse that it once was, okay? It's because they stole everything from us. And I literally mean everything. Intellectual property, inventions, copyrights. And this is fair use under the copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Okay? Yeah. And then for X.
2. Yeah. And then also as well, too, got an unconfirmed report that Kamala is going to run to be governor of California. Yeah, you say, hopefully she will lose. Okay. And then for all you Kamala supporters, Just remember the great work that she did in keeping black men incarcerated. You see what I'm saying? Well beyond their release dates on reefer convictions. You see what I'm saying? And whatnot. And shout out there to the outlaws, you know, for the brothers there in the Midwest of the great work that they do. Shout out there to our man down there in Florida, you know, Palmetto Starve, the great work that he's been doing. Yeah. Also, too, shout out there to the irritated Genie.
Because they showed their true hand. I don't do the Hillary. I don't do the Democratic Hillary, and I don't do the Republican Hillary. But more power to them if that's what they want to do. But I'm not on that. Because neither one of these parties.
So hopefully right now it's time for some independent. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, okay, the dump, ladies and gentlemen, he pardons, you know, convicted felons of the reality TV stars.
Yeah,
Todd and Julie Chrisley. Yeah, okay. So this individual, okay.
Mac 285.
Exactly. Okay, so here's a convicted felon, people, okay, who's pardoning, you know, his cronies, friends, well-wishers, other convicted felons. You see what I'm saying? And then also, too, it's very, very interesting that how out there at the Port of Los Angeles, okay, where the tariffs are interfering with jobs out of there. So what's happening is people, guess what? Some people is schmuck. You know, I've been saying this. Don't buy the shit, okay? Keep it up. Don't buy it. It's because, you see, it's affecting the markets, okay? And they're going to have to eliminate that inventory one way or another. And then all this DEI shit where they're trying to sue Target. Well, you know, you don't have diversity, equity, and inclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, for them not honoring DEI, that's a blessing because it's going to force us to build up our own industries and put our own people to work. And nothing is wrong with that. It's because
covered all the topics that we're about to cover in one day.
Damn. So somebody's been hijacking our intellectual property.
Like almost verbatim in the same order we're going to cover them.
Oh, yeah, and the dumpster used the term brain dead a few weeks ago. I wonder where the hell he got it from.
Wow. They say they ain't listening to us. Yes, the hell they is.
Oh, yeah, that's why they throw monkey wrenches in our works. Say,
breaking news. Reality TV couple is now going to be partners.
That is a damn shame. Now, let's see what they're talking about.
It is great to have you with us here at a very busy Wednesday night. We're tracking tornado watches up right now as we come on and the severe storms. Lee Goldberg is standing by on this. Also, the urgent manhunt for a former police chief considered armed and dangerous. Authorities are now on state lines at this hour and they're warning tonight. But we begin here with President Trump's new pardons, exercising the right of his office. The president issuing a full pardon to reality TV stars husband and wife Todd and Julie Chrisley, serving time in separate prisons convicted of tax evasion and fraud. Authorities say that defrauded banks out of tens of millions. And tonight, the president now saying he will take a look at pardoning the men convicted of a violent kidnapping plot against Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. ABC's chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Carl leading us off tonight.
Tonight, Donald Trump made it official, issuing a pardon of reality TV stars Todd and Julie Chrisley, who were serving prison sentences for tax evasion and bank fraud. Today, their daughter thanking the president as she waited for her father's release.
I'm just so grateful that I'm going to leave here with my dad.
The couple served just over 2 years behind bars. Todd was sentenced to 12 years, Julie 7. Just yesterday, the president breaking the news he intended to issue the pardon in a call to their daughter.
It's a great thing because your parents are going to be free and clean.
For years, the Chrisleys portrayed themselves as self-made real estate tycoons on their show, Chrisley Knows Best, showcasing a life of luxury.
Prada is better than Gucci.
Gucci's better than Prada. I don't even know what Prada is.
But federal prosecutors called the couple career swindlers who have made a living by jumping from one fraud scheme to another, saying they defrauded banks of more than $30 million, using the money on luxury cars, homes, and clothes. Daughter Savannah, a Trump supporter, had lobbied for the pardon, suggesting in a speech at the Republican National Convention that her parents were targeted because of their politics and celebrity.
Due to our public profile and conservative beliefs, they accused my parents of fraud.
And less than 2 months after Trump met with Michigan's Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer at the White House,
we're honored to have Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan, great state of Michigan. And she's really done an excellent job. And a very good person.
Trump said today he is considering pardoning a group of men in connection with a plot to kidnap Whitmer back in 2020. Two alleged ringleaders of the plot are now serving sentences of 16 and 19 years in prison. Today, Trump suggested they were not guilty.
It looked to me like somewhat of a railroad job. I'll be honest with you. It looked to me like some people said some stupid things. You know, they were drinking, and I think they said stupid things. But I'll take a look at that.
Last month, Trump pardoned Paul Walzak, a nursing home executive convicted of cheating on his taxes, erasing an 18-month prison sentence and a $4.4 million penalty. The New York Times reporting the pardon came 3 weeks after his mother attended a $1 million per person fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago.
All right, so let's bring in Jonathan Carl. He's live in Washington. John, a string of pardons here from President Trump. Is there a through line here, a common thread to these pardons?
Well, first of all, David, Donald Trump is using his pardon power much earlier and much more broadly than it is first time.
Jail, and they're all the crooks, and they need to send Trump's ass to Alcatraz.
Political connections or are political supporters of Donald Trump. For instance, just today, the White House announced pardons for former Republican Congressman from New York, Michael Grimm, and former Republican Governor of Connecticut, John Rowland. Both had been convicted of tax fraud and other federal crimes.
John Carl leading us off here tonight. John, thank you.
Damn. Yeah.
No, he commuted Larry Hoover's sentence, but Larry Hoover ain't getting out no time soon because he still got
because he still got to serve the state time, I believe. Larry Hoover,
and he part in the NBA YoungBoy.
Oh, he did.
Yep.
Okay. And then also too, speaking of the NBA, the buckets is done.
Yeah, like the Fakers was done a long time ago, and the Slippers.
Yeah, well, they got to rebuild, man. You know, them cats got to rebuild. You know what I'm saying? They got to rebuild.
But it's over Kelly.
And then
constantly got to keep rebuilding. Every season, we got to rebuild. We got to rebuild. Oh, they're coming out with a Madden movie too, Shabaka.
John Madden.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's the dude who refused to fly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when he was the coach of the Raiders. You know,
showcasing Al Davis in it too.
Oh yeah, well everybody dug Al Davis. Just win, baby, just win. You know.
Yeah, only the Raider fans dug Al Davis.
Yeah, everybody dug Al Davis, man. You know what I mean, and what have you. And then also too, ladies and
there's trouble afoot.
Huh?
Apparently, the Musty Man is parting ways with the Dump.
Oh yeah, so Stinky Bird and going to take little Stink with him too. Yeah.
So do you want to hear that, or do you want to hear from the Christies because they're live right now, talking about their jail about jail after Trump's pardons.
Okay, all righty. So I'm quite sure they're in protective custody, number one. They were not in the mainstream population, number two.
Yeah, you know they was PC up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So they're about to give a speech.
Okay, looks like they're getting ready to have a news conference right there.
So apparently the daughter was at the RNC talking about how they need to let her parents go. So I guess the dump heard her, and that's why he's pardoning them.
All right, and then they need to let the brother go, man, who killed the cop that killed his son.
Yeah, Robert Hinton Jr., Rodney Hinton Jr., yep.
Yes, sir. And he did what a father should. I'm sorry to see the brother lose his child, number one.
You know who they should pardon, Shabaka?
Huh?
You know who else they should pardon?
Who is that?
The Queen Mother.
Oh, absolutely, most definitely, yeah. And the Queen Mother will be 78 years old this July.
Yep. And
yeah.
On another side note, Viola Fletcher just turned 111.
Oh yeah, I've heard the name of Miss Fletcher. Okay, please enlighten me on Miss Fletcher.
She is the oldest living survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre that occurred in 1921 when Black Wall Street was burnt to the ground based off of
Yes, sir. And as you know, I visited the Black Wall Street about a couple of years ago, and I did a video on it. And for some odd reason, folks, I can't find my videos up there on Facebook no more. I wonder why.
Yeah, I have saved it in my archives on Facebook too, but I can't even access Facebook.
Yeah, you say so. It's got to be a way to pull it out. But what it is that any litigation against Facebook has to go through the San Mateo County courts.
Yeah.
Because that's where they're headquartered at, you know. And then if you got an issue with Google, you're going to have to go through the Santa Clara County courts.
Yes.
Yeah, so we need to do some fundraising for that. And you're going to need a war chest, man, of a minimum, man, of about $20 million.
The Miles, yeah, I think they're gonna have a tether play.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did.
285. It's supposed to be a tether.
Yeah. And believe it or not, Matt 285, I met Miles Davis, and the cold part about it is, man, I met Miles Davis behind stage for a community concert in Los Angeles in the mid '80s, and so. I was smoking one, and this brother with his glasses on, man, you know, came up, man, that smells pretty good. You mind if I hit that? Yeah, man, hit this shit, man. You know what I'm saying? So go back out in front of the stage 20 minutes later. They introduced, well, we have a surprise guest, ladies and gentlemen, and it's the one and only Mr. Miles Davis. And he walks out there, and me and the homie look at each other, and that Miles fellow, man, that's old boy, man, that we was, you know, smoking one with, you know. Yeah. And it's a public record that Miles smoked weed, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, not desecrating the brother's memory. And then, of course, Mr. Davis, as great as he was, and his birthday is coming up, or if it hasn't passed already, here in May, just like with Gladys Knight, you know, who is 81, you know, more power to Gladys Knight, you know. And if Miles felt the audience wasn't into his music, man, he'll get up and walk off the daggone stage and still got paid. Now that's some juice right there.
Oh. Somebody else had a birthday too. We're not gonna say his name, though. That's for those that know.
Oh, okay. So Crew is saying is that Illinois wants Hoover to stay in the feds because they can't handle the security. Okay. And Crew, isn't he also wasn't he also convicted in the Illinois state courts as well too?
Yeah. Well, they convicted on 6 life sentences.
Yeah. Okay. And then what the dumpster needs to do is pardon asada.
Yes.
Because the woman is almost 80 years old now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Pardon asada. They say because she was shot herself, you know? And what have you. And, okay. All right, Mac 285, please specify you did the same thing with Roy Hargrove. Enlighten us, sir.
I think he's talking about the dump.
Miles said jazz is what white folk call music they can play. Shit, I know that's right, man. You know what I'm saying? Now, that's a fact.
All right, it looks like these crackers getting ready to come up here and speak. They getting the mics ready for them.
Yeah, you know, when your people just don't give it me, they had this so long ago. Blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, not to mention your gross national product today.
Yeah, they don't want him to get out at any time soon, crew. He said they want him to serve time until 2173. There's no way in hell he gonna serve that.
He'll die in prison. Yeah. They say he'll die in prison. You see that Wrigley man?
He said he smoked. Mac 85 said he smoked with Roy Hargrove before he played his show.
Okay. Okay.
That's what's up. I smoked with Rudy Brown from the Far Side after his show.
Okay. All right. And then, too, I'm sitting up here sitting at my lunch down begging for a couple.
They sentenced him to 200 years.
But I don't know lunch down.
The crew said they sentenced Larry Hooper to 200 years in Illinois.
So which means, okay, so enlighten me about Illinois, man. That means he would have to serve 80% of the time, right? So which case he was, so they got it rigged up where he would die in prison at the state level.
I mean, because he's already served, 52 years?
Yeah. Just like Matula.
Yeah, he been locked up since the 70s. Yeah, you already know, Shabaka.
Yeah, just like our man here in the newspaper.
And he's locked up out here in Florence.
Yeah, and then also to our man who was the reporter that they shot and killed. And also, too, Sarge, if you're sorry behind you no good scoundrel and giving us that bogus email address, you know? Yeah, but I want to roll, and I noticed those Sarge been on the land lately, man. So
yeah, he needs to pardon him at the state level. Prisker's punk ass, fat ass Prisker.
Yeah.
Talking about if you come from the illegals, you coming for me.
Okay, now guess who else did dumb pardon, y'all? Y'all know love this, particularly you, crew. Didn't the dumb pardon the former governor Blacc man of Illinois?
Yes.
Yeah. Why am I not surprised? To quote the words of Man Daly that he told Dr. King, Chicago has certain traditions there. It was the home of Al Capone for many years, you know what I mean? Yeah.
All the 60+ old folk don't want Hoover out.
Yeah. It's a,
I mean, how much do they got to serve? I mean, you think 50 years would be enough?
Yeah. You see? And then, you know, just like what they did in California with Stanley Tookie Williams, who was writing children's books.
Yeah, that was some bullshit, Shabaka. Like, they should have let him out. But the punk-ass Terminator, no. He had to execute him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then from what I understand is that California is supposed to be reviewing its methods of how to execute people. But let's look at old boy down there in South Carolina who knew he was through. He just said to hell with it and went before the firing squad. You know what I mean?
And then another one in South Carolina, he went before the firing squad. They missed.
What?
Yeah.
They missed?
Yeah.
Huh. So if they missed it, old boy survived the shooting or what?
Oh man. Damn, they don't want him to get out at all.
Yeah. See, because the main thing you have to understand is that the prison industrial complex, ladies and gentlemen, that you have out there with Katmala, you see, benefits greatly to these major retail chains. Okay, Cruz says he just talked to his parents and step-parents about it. Okay. So what's happening in the Shy, Crew? What's the humidity level there? 1,000% yet?
But they said one of the dude he got to stay around the extra.
Okay, now we just had
because they have missed. I'm like, how do you miss? How does a firing squad miss?
Yeah, twin. Yeah. What's up with that, man? What's up with that?
But it's like, like how does a marksman miss the dump? Remember he got grazed or whatever on the ear.
Yeah. And then also too, Brother Che, that came across my desk yesterday. Although that this was.
What are you repeating yourself about? I said what you said. You said that they don't want him to get out.
Yeah. And then on top of it too, old J.D. Vance was here in the great state of Nevada yesterday talking about Bitcoin.
Oh, shit, it's 70 degrees out there. What's the weather in Las Vegas right now, Shabaka?
Oh, probably about 86 degrees. Hold on. Hold on.
Have y'all hit 100?
Let me see. No, we hit 100 yesterday. Yeah, it's 85 degrees and sunny here at 8:30 this morning. So about 12 o'clock noon, it'll be about 110 degrees. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and then also too, okay, now Crew, now Crew's talking about he loves some Bitcoin. Okay, Crew, now educate me, man, on some Bitcoin. Please help, for I'm stupid.
It's the cryptocurrency, Shabaka.
Right. And then we got a colleague that's off into that.
Yeah, Jay Dizzle.
Okay.
It's taking forever for this goddamn press conference.
Oh yeah, so they're still waiting on a press conference. So anytime, man, when they schedule a press conference, man, and they delay it like this, the only thing they trying to do is get their lies straight.
Yeah. So we're gonna move to the next topic while these crackers is getting their shit together.
Yeah. Nah, so let me put that, okay. And this here is about the TV reality crooks, right?
Yeah, they were about to speak, but they're taking forever. Crew said he loved he likes stocks and buy the dip. Don't sell when you broke, as he did.
Okay. All right, so we're trying to see how they. Here they come. Let's see what their lie is. Look like they got their lies straight now.
They still ain't ready. These must taking forever.
Yeah, they doing their last minute touch and goes and shit. Now remember to say this on that, huh?
Oh my God.
Yeah, and they want to shadow ban us for speaking the truth.
Thank you, President Trump, for putting us out. Even though we some crooks, just like you. 1 minute, he said. 1 minute, here they come.
Okay, now Crew, on these stocks, it's better to buy the fully participating preferred stock, is it not? As opposed to common stock.
Yeah. I think you want to be a full stakeholder in the.
Yeah, the preferred stock, the fully cumulative stock, and the fully participating stock, which means is when the dividends are declared and they're not dispersed, it still stacks up in your account. And so I'm going to ask Crew to correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed now. And participating means that you're participating in the profits of it.
Oh, he's saying like He's saying Bitcoin is like stocks.
Okay.
He said he got a question for you, Shabaka. He said salt and pepper or sugar in my grits.
No, man, I take the sugar in the grits, man. Not salt and pepper, man. Hell no. No, I put a little bit of sugar there. You know what I'm saying? In the grits, you know?
Yeah. He said Bitcoin is the preferred coin.
We're not talking stocks. Bitcoin is digital currency. Okay. Now, let me ask you this here, crew. Now, with Bitcoin being digital currency, that means they're setting a prelude to eliminate paper money, correct?
Yeah, it's part of that blockchain.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what lie they got straight.
Oh, Lord, here they
I know
go.
this is some bullshit. Let's hear they lying of shit.
Here, I appreciate
Hooray
the attention
for
to this matter.
Hollywood.
I know folks wanted to talk to Todd and Savannah, so they're here to do that. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell a few words. We'll take questions after.
He said, okay.
How are you guys? Good. I'm still, we woke up today and they were still at home. So it's honestly felt like such a dream to have them at home. And I'm just so grateful, obviously, to President Trump, the administration, Alice Johnson, just everyone within the pardons office. Alice,
twin, here we go.
A year and a half ago, I think, before she ever even got the role. And what I respect about her is she's not in the art of giving favors. Neither is President Trump. And when she got the role, she looked into our case. They saw the injustices. The media loves to run with this $30 million scheme without doing the research to look into the documents. And there was no $30 million scheme. But I just appreciate the administration looking into it and seeing the faults within our case, the corruption, and just the weaponization of the DOJ. So we are just so excited and moving forward. Obviously, getting them home the past 2.5 years, I have fought. Like, that was my number one priority, was getting my parents home. But now that they're home, now we move on to all the other men and women that are in the system and getting them home. And I know we're going to continue to work. We're going to be in D.C. and Mom and Dad are now along for the ride because we're not leaving those men and women behind. There's too much work that needs to be done. There's too much reform that needs to be done. So we're just super excited. And here he is, Todd Chrisley, after running from the media in Nordstrom yesterday.
Good morning, guys. Thank you all very much for coming today. Having the interest.
You're not welcome, Cracker.
I want to thank first and foremost my Lord and Savior, because that's who got me through it. I want to thank President Trump. I want to thank the administration. I want to thank Alice Johnson. I want to thank every person that has prayed for us, that has stayed in the fight and that fought for the truth to come out. And so I am grateful for it. And as Savannah said, she has fought a long fight. And for any parent to see their child fight this hard, it's a double-edged sword. It's a blessing, and then your heart breaks because your child has been placed in that position to fight for you, when as a parent, you're supposed to fight for your children. So I will always be grateful to you from the bottom of my heart. We've had wonderful legal representation, maybe not in the first go round, but certainly when you picked up. And we're certainly grateful to you, Alex, and to you. This is the better looking version of
that money goodbye.
So, we're grateful for everything that has happened thus far. And as bad as this experience has been, there's also been a lot of lessons to come through. I have met some wonderful men. I have listened to some horrific stories about things that have gone on in our system. And whether you believe it or not, because I was you at some point, even though this pardon has happened, I still was convicted of something that I did not do. It could be you. It could be you. It could be any of you. And somewhere in this room, someone has had a family member that has been affected by this system. So I understand the shame that's around it, but I refuse to feed into that. Because shame is like a cancer that just spreads, and I have no shame. So I will continue to fight for all the guys that I dealt with and that I was blessed to be with at FPC Pensacola. I will continue to expose the injustices that go on there and throughout the department and throughout the Bureau of Prisons. I know that Julie, who is a wonderful, decent, God-fearing woman that I'm blessed to have been married to and been with for over 30 years. An excellent mother. She's at home with Chloe right now, and Chloe will not let her go. So we're blessed to have our family back, and we're blessed to be coming back to television because we do have a much bigger story to tell now than we ever have. So I thank each and every one of you.
That video's in up for some questions. We'll start here.
Todd and Savannah, what was the reunion like first night, right? Julie, and the second part of that is the fans have been really talking about your physical transformation.
Yeah, I call it the BOP glow.
And so what was the motivation behind that, and how are you going to continue that sort of initiative?
Well, I'll actually have more access to better products now that I'm out.
Access to better profits now that he's out. Now listen to this shit, people. Access to better profits. He was locked up in 006.
My buddies there.
That was George H. Bush.
My walk with Christ became deeper, and I talked to my daughter every day, to Chase, to Grayson, and I was able to email with Julia.
Right.
So I think that for me, I haven't had the same effects that so many people leaving the prison system have had. So I'm grateful there. Maybe it's just all the residual Botox that never wore off.
Hey.
What was the reunion first night?
Yes, I think for me, obviously I went to pick up my dad. And when he walked out, it was just such an overwhelming feeling.
Was he walking
the
funny?
Last time I was there, I was dropping him off and watching him walk away. So I think watching him walk towards me, I was an absolute disaster. And we left there and it was amazing. And I FaceTimed my friend Margot, who works within the administration, and she goes, "Hold on a second." She was like, "I'm here with the president." And we got to FaceTime the president. And it was a full circle moment.
I think that it was, as Savannah said, she and Nick dropped me off there, and then you picked me up. It was, I don't even know that I felt like it was real at that moment.
Herbert Walker.
And I woke up the first morning and I was looking around. I'm like, this is
you're
really
right, crew.
I'm home. So I was grateful for our family to be all back in the same room, to be together, to share a meal together, to pray together, and to know that we're still in the fight together.
Mr. Chrisley, do you have any more reactions that led to
Oh, you must be CNN. Do I have any remorse? I would have remorse if it was something that I did.
Well, your wife did apologize last year.
Well, let me explain to you how that works.
Destruction.
You're placed in a position as a defendant to either bow down and kiss the ass of the Department of Justice and accept responsibility for things that you did not do in order to avoid a stronger sentence. And the corruption that went on in our case is going to continue to unfold, and Alex is going to continue to give each and every one of you the evidence that as it comes in. Next question.
Hearing her voice, seeing her, what was that like?
It was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. Julie and I have been together for over 30 years, and she is my best friend. We have raised our children together, a grandchild that is now my legal daughter, and we've had all the ups and downs. We've gone through breast cancer together. We've gone through multiple medical procedures with her, and it was great to be home. No matter where that is, as long as she's there, it's home. Thank you so much.
You're not welcome. Yep, exactly, Shabaka. The hypocrisy is real.
You want to go first?
Yeah, man.
I think, obviously the biggest misconception right now is that I either paid for a pardon or slept for a pardon.
That's something I
or
would.
like,
Lady, you probably did all of it.
and if people knew the countless hours, and the money and the time that I spent going to DC, literally with not a meeting scheduled, and I just got on a plane and went and said, I'm going to be in the right room at the right time and meet the right people. I fought hard and I was exhausted and I begged for meetings. There was nothing that I was never too good to ask. And that's the thing is people think, oh, you're a celebrity, you're white, you have money. That we got an upper hand and we didn't. I had to fight and I was relentless and that's how it happened. Finally, people listened. So for me, that would be something that people just don't understand.
I think for me, watching it all unfold and listening to what she said.
Watching it all unfold, you backward ass hillbilly.
Just being consumed with pride while at the same time knowing that this is a long shot because so many people are told no. And being in the prison system,
and
anyone that says
I bet
that it's a fair shake,
85% of them are black folk.
Because I dealt with young African American males in the prison that I was in that were not treated the same. They were denied programming. They were denied access to certain things. I was not denied that.
Wow, man, we've been on that for the last 150 goddamn years.
All as a society as a whole need to look at that we are one. And whether you're Republican, Democrat, or whatever, at the end of the day, when you're in that hospital, you don't care if it's a Democrat treating you or a Republican. Now, some of you may, but I want whoever's going to be the best person to do that. You.
Thank you. There's no telling how many times Savannah's Instagram was refreshed yesterday with everyone looking for that glimpse.
We said Democrat, Republican, he just say black or white.
Live on Instagram.
Yeah.
Nordstrom shopping. Can you talk about that? And were you hesitant at all for that to be the first glimpse of your shopping?
Well, we thought through our security detail that we had beaten and that we were good to go. And what we did not realize is that there was multiple outlets that were following us, but we had interference with the security team. And I don't know why it's that exciting to watch the show. I mean, it's just not. But we went in to grab a few things because of I have an event to go to tomorrow, and then we looked up and people in Nordstrom's coming and said, "You need to understand that the press is here. The press is here." And so I'm like, they're just wanting this one first picture, and so I said, "Go live with it." I says, and that stops them, and so that's what we did.
It did. Hey.
Go down to the front and the back.
What do you have to say to people who say they part of
I understand it. I understand it. That's not something that you can look at and say, well, that had nothing to do with it. I don't know if it did or if it didn't, because I wasn't involved in the process. But what I can tell you is that I believe in our president of the United States, and I believe in his commitment. When he created the First Step Act, that was to help incarcerated individuals. It was not adhered to by the Department of Justice. And the entire time during the Biden administration, it was not adhered to. So to hear him say that it is now going to be adhered to and Pam Bondi is going to make sure of that, literally since Pam Bondi has stepped in, now the Bureau of Prisons have been given a directive through a new director who I have such a huge amount of faith in, William Marshall, that he is going to make sure that the First Step Act is implemented. That these men and women are going to get the credit that they're supposed to be getting. They're going to get the training and the education that they're promised. And they're going to be given a right to go back to their families in a speedier way. So I do understand that, and if that's the case,
I certainly hope Kamala Harris is taking notes of this.
I don't know how to address the fact that if it is the case, but I'm grateful to God for whatever reason it was that we were able to do.
Yep, it is. It is just like this.
Okay. We do have future plans.
Not midgets.
Nashville will always hold a special place.
Damn.
But about affirmative.
We will probably always have a presence here. I don't know that we'll be here full time. No, you.
And that feeling almost of not being able to associate with family and friends, almost for that been like part of the
Yeah, you're right about that, crew. But you know, Kamala's a high mileage job, man. You know what I mean?
Like, how do you plan to use your platform and share different messages
This will always hold. You can't go through what we've been through and walk away from it. I'm fortunate, so is Julie, that we never lost contact with our children. Julie and I emailed 10 times a day. And I think it's also important to understand that I was at a camp. It was the brokest child camp that you can go to.
Yeah.
The accommodations were not great.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
but,
you're right.
It, needless to say, was a camp. It was a former military base. So we had free access to walk, and we had a track and a weight pile, and we had things that we could do. But there are men there that after, I think statistically, after the first 2 years, people lose contact with their loved ones. And that I can't even imagine how that must feel. But at the same time, I think that we at this point, God has said, when you know better, you do better. And it's our job at this point to expose all of that and to try to make those men and women's lives better if we can. And that's what I plan to do.
So let's take a step back.
Man, this double speak bullshit, man. You know what I'm saying?
We don't
insult to my damn intelligence.
We're gonna get them out. We see how injustice is.
I mean, when I got the call, like I said, I was walking into the grocery store and I stopped in the parking lot. I was like, what do I do? I was like, okay, go back to my car. And so I sat in my car and had that phone conversation that's online with President Trump. And I was in such shock. I really didn't know what to say. I started crying. Grayson was with me and we're like, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. And I really don't even remember driving home. Like, I was in such shock. And
hell yeah, he's glad to quit walking that concrete.
I wasn't what had happened, but it had already kind of spread like wildfire because President Trump's team posted the video and tagged it Trump Knows Best, which, you know, I love. But it spread like wildfire. And when they called, they're like, is this really real? Oh my, like, it was so hard to believe that it was actually happening.
I had a staff member that came to me and said, you've just been pardoned. And I just looked at him and he says, no, really, you've been pardoned. It's in the news. So I walked up to call her.
You said she got chubby, all that flat back.
So
yeah.
I remember walking back from the phone and just feeling numb, not really knowing. And then after about 10 minutes, all I could think about was the guys that I was leaving behind because I had made such wonderful relationships with those men. And
I'm sure you did.
When I left that day, there was only 317 men at our camp, but they were lined up shouting when I was walking out. And they were saying, don't leave it, don't forget us, don't forget us. And my commitment is to them that I will
forget
never
us, Cracker. Don't forget us.
So we had been filming and we had just wrapped filming for all intents and purposes. And then we get the call that they had been pardoned. So we picked right back up and we're excited because I think this new show is going to give, first off, it's going to give people a look into the trial and things that we went through. And we're going to set the record straight, put some documents out there. Alex is on there. But it comes full circle because we go back and then we get to the point where mom and dad are pardoned and now we move forward with our lives. And I know for me personally,
crew, I agree with you on that.
I can be a normal 27-year-old.
Yeah, that broad looked like she could bob and weave better than Ali, if you know what I mean.
I traveled to 30 countries by the time I turned 30. But going to DC is going to be, I will be there a lot more because now I hope to work with the Federal Bureau of Prisons and Billy Marshall and help them expose the corruption because he is now accountable if there has been abuse and corruption. So
the hypocrisy is real.
I'm excited for that to work with some organizations, put bills in front of Congress, especially for women who are incarcerated. So that's kind of our goal. And then obviously that they've already got all the offers
start
in,
with
so
Dump
it's going to
giving
make
a
life
full
so
part
much easier.
to
You'll
the
see
Queen
them on
Mother.
quite a few different shows, I have a feeling. So one more question, and then I think we're
concerned that you will be a part now.
Be too much like
We are.
Yeah.
That we got home.
As soon as we got home. So I think with this new series, you will see the first time he and mom see each other for the first time.
Let her have this question.
They're gonna go right back to doing that bullshit reality TV show.
Right.
My question is, so, you know, it was under the first Trump administration investigation happened and charges, so how could it be living?
Well, if you will look at the individuals that prosecuted this case and that lied to the courts, and these prosecutors are no longer with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Tommy Krepp left and is now at the FDIC. Annalise Peters, she is now with Meta. You don't go to Meta and give up a career as a prosecutor. That's not what you do. You don't go to the graveyard of the FDIC when you're trying to build a career as a defense attorney. So
I also think it's very important to note that it took 7 years to issue a formal indictment.
Exactly.
So the investigation was going on for almost a decade. And when you look at it, our judge was the youngest African-American female appointed by Obama. So she allowed so many things to come into trial with the Fourth Amendment violations, and magistrate judge ruled that all the evidence must be thrown out because it was obtained illegally. So we don't know if stuff was planted, Mark Braddock was involved, he got full immunity from the government. So the whole trial was just messy and tainted. And when the magistrate judge ruled the evidence was not allowed in, the Obama appointed judge said, nope, I don't care. We're allowing it all in.
And with an email that said, we need to catch a big fish. And the response was, well, Todd Chrisley is the biggest fish in Atlanta.
And I think it's also important to note that the Office of Inspector General ruled in our favor in their documents, that in their investigation, that stated, we agree that the Chrisleys were unfairly targeted. We substantiate
due to their celebrity status.
Yes, we substantiate the Chrisleys' claims that they were unfairly targeted. So at the end of the day, I will sit and say, as his daughter, I believe in law and order. If I believe that my parents did exactly what they were accused of,
Lady, you don't
then
believe in
yes,
no law and order.
you
You
have
lying
a
ass
consequence for it.
bimbo.
Do I think the consequence should have been 12 years? No, I do not. That's not even a fair sentence if it was true. But I know in my
go
heart of
tricky
hearts,
dick
it
in
was not true.
1968.
I called these
We will have
prosecutors in
law
so
and
much
order.
misconduct, speaking to the judge, having ex parte communications.
This is in
And
writing.
It
This not
is in
hearsay.
writing. Alex exposed the emails. So I think at the end of the day, if you want a conviction, then have a clean conviction.
And to go back to your question about it being a Trump administration, it was a Biden administration that the OIG issued the report under that said that we were targeted.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
That's it.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
Awesome.
you. Thank you. Y'all have a wonderful day. God bless.
Thank you.
What the fuck ever.
Yeah. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Brother Che, not getting off topic right here. This is an article out of the Las Vegas Review-Journal, dated yesterday. J.D. Vance was here in Sin City. Administration is backing cryptocurrency. J.D. told thousands of cryptocurrency enthusiasts at the Bitcoin 2025 conference on the Strip Wednesday that this isn't a conference of people, this is a movement. This conference, this movement of people is where the future of cryptocurrency in the country gets started, Vance said at the Venetian Convention Center. Vance's keynote speech took place during the second morning of the three-day convention, which is touted as the largest Bitcoin-focused event. More than 35,000 attendees were expected Wednesday, according to Bitcoin Incorporated. Founder and Nakamoto's CEO, David Bailey, who introduced the vice president. We're making history, said Bailey, noting that all this was the first Bitcoin conference to take place as the digital currency's value had surpassed $100,000 per coin. Yeah, and you're right, crew, lock your bank account. It's great to be here with Bitcoin at $108,000, at least when I checked this morning, quoting JD, who noted he owned cryptocurrency himself. Interesting. JD's appearance came a day after Trump's media and technological group corporation announced a deal to acquire $2.5 billion in Bitcoin and to create a Bitcoin treasury. So already, ladies and gentlemen, they're setting you up to fuck you out of your money. Our first acquisition of a crown jewel asset. This investment will help defend our company against harassment and discrimination by financial institutions which plague many Americans and U.S. firms, wrote, okay, 2A, gotta flip the paper now here. Company CEO and Chairman Devin Nunes in a news release. The coins will create synergies for subscription payments, a utility token, and other planned transactions across Truth Social and Truth Plus, he added. Several members of Congress and White House officials were scheduled to speak at the convention, as well as the Dump's two older sons, Donald Jr. and Eric. My. And Trump administration's embrace of crypto. So this here, ladies and gentlemen, is out the Las Vegas Review Journal, dated May 29th, 2025, which was yesterday. And you can pull it up for yourself. Basically what it is, Black family, they're getting ready, to do it to us again. So, we got to turn our back on these coon-ass politicians. You see what I'm saying? Oh, and by the way, Donald Duck is opening up Alcatraz again, and they should go on there and let him be the first inmate to be booked into Alcatraz. He could still be the president from there. He could have his whole Secret Service detail there. Put his ass out there on that rock. He has an excellent view of the Golden Gate Bridge.
That must have been closed down for 50 years, over 50 years.
Actually 60, sir. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah. They can go out there, clean out a cell for him. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Better yet, let him have access to the whole prison, put a Secret Service detail in there, put JD in there with him, his whole regime. They can administer the government right there. Call it the Western White House like Tricky Dick did with his San Clemente mansion. Uh-huh.
Nah, he gonna take Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago, yeah. Well, hopefully the alligators get his ass.
All right, so moving along, Shabaka. We got
the psychotic sheriff.
For this former Arkansas police chief turned escape and rapist. They left out rapists. Escape and rapists.
Mm-hmm.
Down in the good old state of Arkansas, where
Sarah Huckabee is the governor. The same governor, Sarah Huckabee, who wants to tear down the monument to the Little Rock Nine.
Yeah.
Here, the urgent manhunt intensifying for a former police chief and convicted murderer. Roadblocks and security checkpoints have now been set up near state lines. And the warning tonight for the public. ABC's Faith Abube on the scene again tonight. She's in Arkansas.
Tonight, authorities in Arkansas searching this dense terrain as they expand their search for former police chief turned escaped killer Grant Hardin.
Would you mind rolling your windows down for me real quick?
Officers stopping vehicles and multiple security checkpoints near the North Central Unit Prison, just south of the Missouri border, where authorities say Hardin made that daring escape 4 days ago.
We're not going to rule anything out at this point, obviously, because all it takes is one vehicle to hop in and you can be anywhere. But as of this time, they feel very confident he is still in the area.
Hardin seen here wearing a fake guard uniform. Tonight, an affidavit says a corrections officer at the prison, mistaking Hardin for another officer, opened a secured gate and let Hardin walk away. Officials realizing he was gone less than 30 minutes after his escape.
Not to say that I don't trust that they're doing everything they can. It's just he's obviously clever. And it's nerve-wracking.
Hardin serving a decades-long prison sentence for the 1997 rape of a school teacher and the roadside murder of James Appleton in 2017. His crimes, the subject of investigation Discovery's Devil in the Ozarks, showing what he told investigators.
Can you walk me through your day about what happened today?
I have to remain silent.
Okay.
On that.
Hours from that prison, the family of Hardin's murder victim left reeling by his escape.
It just seems so unreal. I mean, how does this happen? He is just
an evil man. He should not be trusted.
And David, a state prison official tells me there's supposed to be a verification process before doors are unlocked here at the prison, and that lapse tonight is under investigation. David.
Yeah, major lapse there. Faith Abube, Faith. Thank you.
Major lapse, yeah.
How convenient. Yeah. Talk about some justice. Yeah. Yeah. Why are we not surprised, people? Why are we not surprised?
Just let him get away like that. So, oh, he's a fellow officer. He's a fellow correctional officer, just like the rest of us. Nothing to see here. Open the gate. Oh, you're free to go. And my God, he is a former damn police chief.
The police chief. Yeah. Yeah, the police chief. Yeah, what a great example he set for his subordinates. I got a question. Don't he still get his pension as a police chief?
I would say yes, Shabaka.
So which means he's got access to money.
Yep.
And then what he's going to do is rig up some shit, send loved ones in there, some good old boys down there to go get the money. Aiding and abetting. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
The follow-up to this. So they're still looking for his ass.
I don't think they're gonna find this dude, man. And if they do find dude, guess what? He'll be taken alive.
Oh, you know it. They're not gonna kill him.
Okay, now let's look at the administration of justice in these contemporary times. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you got a multiple convicted felon as your president. Okay. You got the crooked sheriff.
34 count felon.
Yeah, and then two, the regime, okay, will probably pardon this dude, okay. And the devil escapes. Yeah. Down there in great state of Arkansas. Yeah.
The latest is on this shit.
And welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. Our next story takes us out to Arkansas. Here we have a live vantage point there over Eureka Springs. So not too far away, about 30 minutes from there in Garfield, Arkansas, the manhunt continues for the devil in the Ozarks. That's, of course, if you've been following this story, you know him. He's Grant Hardin, the former police chief in the small town of Gateway near the Arkansas-Missouri border. Here is what he looks like. And like I said, he is still on the run, on the land. He's a former police chief. He's a convicted killer. He escaped prison this weekend by impersonating a guard and walking out through a gate a guard opened for him. Now, he escaped Sunday from the North Central Unit, a medium security prison, also known as the Calico Rock Prison, by impersonating a corrections officer in dress and manner. That's according to a court document. A prison officer opened a secure gate, allowing him to leave the facility. Now, spokespeople for the Arkansas Department of Corrections described the clothes as not a standard inmate or correctional uniform. In the meantime, we did get an update on the ground there in Arkansas from officials earlier this afternoon to update us on how the manhunt is going to bring Hardin back into custody. Let's listen.
I understand you guys have a job to do, and a lot of what is going to hinge on us is help from y'all and getting this word out there. So appreciate all that. Again, we can provide a brief outline of where we are. And again, I can't really get into any specifics, but kind of where we are stand. Unfortunately, there's no new developments. We've passed the 72-hour mark from when Grant Harden did escape. Since that time has started, there has been an ongoing collective effort with multiple agencies, state, federal, local, utilizing any and all resources that we can to track it down. Any and all leads that we are getting have been followed up on. Unfortunately, none of those have come to fruition yet, but we're hoping all it takes is that one lead that is credible that is going to lead to this. So again, the search is ongoing, and with that, I'm happy to take any questions you guys may have.
We heard that some of the local departments are being told to stand back. Is the search effort being scaled back?
It's not being scaled back at all. I think the issue that we're running into is having too many people in one place at one time.
Wow.
I know that the search area has expanded, and so at this point, they may just be told to stay back until we have somewhere else, so there's not that much of a concentrated force in one spot.
Is it because you don't have any areas you're prioritizing?
I mean, there's a lot of different things we're following. You know, one of the challenges that we have for this area is it is very, as you can see, it's very hilly, it's very rocky. There's a lot of places where it's very narrow to get in and it's very narrow to get out. And we've had a couple instances, I know, during this search where it's been hard we have too many people in one place and units are on top of each other trying to get in and out. It's kind of hampering it. So I think it's just trying to be very coordinated and making sure that we're spreading our resources where they need to be.
Can you talk about what some of those resources are that you're utilizing? Are you using drones, canines, helicopters?
Yeah, all of the above. We have, one of the nice things, the Department of Corrections, we have a very robust canine search team, and those are being utilized as much as we can. Drones are being utilized, aircraft. One of the hindrances we have had the last few days, you guys know, we've had a lot of rain. It's been very wet, and rain hinders those type of searches. With our track dogs, the rain can affect, them being able to pick up that track. With the low clouds, it's hard to get the drones up as high as we need to. Helicopters are grounded with all that. So we're hoping that the weather kind of turns a little bit and we can utilize more of those.
We were able to get video of helicopters hovering in the area of the prison and some officers using binoculars to look in the area. Is some of the search concentrated still around the prison?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the attitude that we take until we have credible evidence that he is not in the area, we assume that he's probably still in the area. And so that's where it is. The north central Arkansas area is where the main source of the search is at this point. And a lot of that too is just double backing and double checking to make sure we're not missing anything in the immediate area where we know for sure he was, just double checking that area to make sure there's not something we're missing.
Can we go back to Sunday and you can talk about, we all know that he was wearing some sort of makeshift outfit that looked like he was perhaps an employee of the detention facility. And then we also saw in the affidavit that somebody opened the door for him, presumably assuming he was an employee. Can you just walk us through what we know so far about how he was able to exit the facility?
Yeah, that is our assumption, is that, I mean, everything that he was wearing is not a standard issue inside this facility. It is not there's no inmate uniform that looks like that. There's no officer uniform that looks like that. It very much and that's part of the challenge, is determining what exactly he was wearing and following up on those. Our understanding is that being he was former law enforcement, he tailored that to look like a law enforcement officer. We do have, with this being part of, facility, we do have law enforcement that comes in and out on a fairly regular basis. And that is our assumption, that he did that to try and mimic a law enforcement officer. As far as the events leading up to that, that's still being looked over and considered and analyzed at this time. And so, but yeah, we believe that was the intent, was to mimic a law enforcement uniform.
Can you speak to the employee that opened the door?
All I can say at this point is there are a number of investigations and questions being asked just to ascertain exactly what happened. And that's really all I can tell at this point.
What's supposed to be the protocol in the case that Priya is talking about? How are law enforcement officers supposed to leave the prison? Are they just supposed to say, hi, open the door?
I mean, there is supposed to be a verification of who it is. And so, that's one of the things that we're looking into, is where that lapse was, and it's making sure that doesn't happen again.
Can you rule out that he didn't have any help on the inside?
We're not ruling out anything at this point. That's part of that investigation and making sure that we have all those questions answered.
Any indication that he's had help since getting out?
Again, we're looking into that as well. We have we can't comment on that this time. Laura, did you? Sorry.
Layers of security that Marty had to breach to get out of the prison, was it one lapse or multiple failures?
That's part of what we're looking into as well. We have a pretty good idea of the route that he took and kind of some of those circumstances. But part of that investigation is looking into exactly what happened during that time frame and what, if any, lapses happened.
Have there been any, Have there been any credible sightings in the last 24 hours?
None to my knowledge, just a lot of tips, but none of those have come to fruition at this point.
How confident are you that he's still in North Central Arkansas?
Based on the information that we have and the experience of our teams, they feel fairly confident that he is still fairly close to this region. We're not going to rule anything out at this point, obviously, because all it takes is one vehicle to hop in and you can be anywhere. But as of this time, they feel very confident he is still in the area.
Do you feel like you have a good perimeter set up that if he were to try to escape this area, that he could be caught?
Sure. We're always adjusting that and seeing if we need to. It has expanded over the last 72 hours, but with all the resources and the different agencies that we have, they feel confident that the perimeter we have right now is wide enough to make sure that we can try and track him down.
Can you expand on what you just said about the search area expanding? What does that actually mean?
Just obviously, as time goes on and somebody's on foot, they can cover a lot more ground. And so just making sure, looking at possible, roads, possible, following streams, following whatever maneuvers people would take, just trying to guess and ascertain, how far somebody could travel in a certain amount of time, and just making sure that we're covering that amount of distance and that he's not slipping by.
Are you looking at nearby states? Sorry.
I can't speak to how much, but I know we have been in contact with neighboring states as we normally do in these situations. Obviously, the proximity to Missouri and his knowledge, and he grew up close to the Missouri border, so obviously that is a priority as well.
Can you talk about the timeline? How quickly were you guys able to detect that he had left the facility?
That's still something we're looking into as well. From our best estimate, it was less than 30 minutes before we knew that he was gone.
And are you in contact with his family members?
Wow.
Is there any evidence that he could potentially be?
Yeah, crew, that's exactly what they're doing, is letting his ass go.
They have been notified, and law enforcement in that area knows that is a high priority. And from what we understand, they are being closely monitored.
What can you tell us about his time? Was he well behaved?
I mean, it's hard to define what is, we've been asked what is a model inmate, and it's hard to define that. All I can say, if you look at his record, he had no major disciplinary actions. He had people on the inside that he had a job, and there were no serious issues that would cause a concern outside of, him just being an inmate.
You talked about the terrain and the weather, but can you also just expand a little bit on his background as a law enforcement officer and a corrections officer, if I'm not mistaken, and how that presents a unique set of challenges in this manhunt?
Sure. I mean, obviously, if you have a law enforcement background, you've had specialized training, you've had a familiarity of the tactics that are going to be used. He's not necessarily from this area, but he did grow up in Northwest Arkansas, which has some terrain similar to this. There's a lot of caves around here. There's a lot of hills, and so understanding that he may have that sort of familiarity provides a challenge.
What kind of threat does he pose to people in this area and law enforcement searching for him?
I mean, it's hard to tell. It's obviously the reason he was in prison is he has a violent background, and so at this point we don't want to take any chances. Anyone who escapes, we have to assume to be dangerous, to be assumed don't approach them. And so at this point, that is how we're approaching this.
And can you describe kind of the area you're looking? Are there cabins? Are there what kind of caves? What does the area look like?
There's anyone who knows this area, there's everything. There's caves, there's barns, there's abandoned cars, there's abandoned sheds, there's residences. There are a number of, and again, it's not a flat open area. There's there's a lot to cover, and there's a lot to look into, and making sure that that is being covered and doing due diligence is a big priority.
Okay, so you've been listening there. His name is Rand Champion. He's a spokesperson for the Arkansas Department of Corrections. Let's step away from this. We're staying, though, on top of this story. We want to go now, again, live to the scene. That's where one of our friends and colleagues, Fox News multimedia reporter Chelsea Torres, standing by there in Gateway, Arkansas, with an update on how the manhunt is going. She joins me now live. Chelsea, good to see you here. So we've been listening to that update from earlier this afternoon for about 15 minutes. Doesn't seem like much is happening just yet, not much progress being made. Are they expecting some type of breakthrough anytime soon?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andrew. I think one thing that that we've heard from the Department of Corrections here in Arkansas is that they're still trying to fine tune and figure out a lot of those answers that we have those big questions to. They said that they had a lot of leads, but none of them have really come to fruition yet. And really a lot of those details on exactly how Grant Hardin escaped the facility, the correctional facility, is still left to be determined. But what we do know is that he was wearing something that he created his own. The correctional facility did say, the Department of Corrections do say that he had a makeshift outfit designed to mimic a law enforcement. Latest picture that we have of him, and this is posted by the Izard County Sheriff's Office. They say he was last seen wearing a black hat, black pants, and a black top, and possibly a prison guard vest. And I think what's interesting to know about this is that there in that press conference, they still had not been able to find any of that clothing. So it's believed that Grant Hardin is still wearing those clothes. He was convicted of raping an elementary school teacher. Then in 2017, Hardin pleaded guilty to murdering a city water employee, serving a combined 80 years sentence at the Calico Rock Prison there in northern Arkansas. Now, that employee, James Appleton, was found shot in the face inside his work truck. And Appleton's sister, which is the mayor of Gateway, she says Hardin was the police chief of her town for only 4 months. She is shocked he escaped and fears for her family's safety.
If he's smart enough, he wouldn't come back.
And then I'm quite sure that this individual has got access to some type of tactical frequencies of
And the state's Department of Corrections do say that they are using canines, drones, and helicopters. They've expanded that search area near the correctional facility, and they still believe that he is in that area. They're confident that he is in that area, and they don't have any other reason to believe as of right now that he's gone further than where they're searching. But we do know also is that the officials are urging people to call 911 if they see him, but also not to approach him. Andrew?
So, Chelsea, just a couple of questions for you. Is there any monetary reward for information? Do we know that?
So they did say as of right now that they're still trying to fine-tune any of those details to see if that is something that they will do. But as of now, no reward for if you do end up seeing Grant.
And lastly, do they anticipate or are they led to believe that he could have got any help or assistance on the inside and now on the outside?
Again, questions that we still don't have answers to. And again, as you heard from Rand Champion, that they are still following any kind of leads, but they don't have any information to actually give out to the public yet of if he had any help, if there was any sort of assistance at all. He did say that agencies are in contact with his immediate family, but other than that, we don't have any other details.
All right, Chelsea Torres there live for us in Gateway, Arkansas, as this manhunt continues. Chelsea, good to see you. Great reporting. We'll talk soon if there are any more updates.
Talk to you soon, Andrew. Thank you.
Okay, in the meantime here, last look there in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, about 30 minutes away from Gateway. Gateway right on the Arkansas-Missouri border. This is a small rural community, as you just saw there in Chelsea Torres's report. She had that soundbite from the mayor of Gateway, who just so happens to be the sister of Grant Hardin's victim. He is a convicted murderer. We brought that news to you as well during this entire saga. So a manhunt there, in the land of the Ozarks. Remember, also a little bit further south, the manhunt continues for those New Orleans inmates still on the lam now, more than almost 2 weeks. They have 2 of those escaped inmates to go. They have taken back into custody 8 of the 10 here. We'll be getting an update a little bit later on as well on that story, live from New Orleans in just a moment here. But let's take a quick commercial break. I'm Andrew.
Yeah, they're still looking for them too.
Yeah. Wow.
They effed up though. They got on the internet. It was on the gram. It was on Instagram live streaming. It's just stupid.
Okay, wait a minute. The ones that escaped from Louisiana were on Instagram live streaming?
Yeah, at least 1 or 2 of them was, yeah. That's how they was.
Then they're crazy. That's probably how they got busted.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
better read the fine print when you sign up for these. Okay, the sheriff, if justice is to be done, they should kick the sheriff off the police chief off the planet. I bet the chief's standing right there next to Chelsea, and they going out for lunch. You know what, crew? You'll get no argument from me. You will get no argument from me. I will not be surprised in the least. You know, I mean, people, the hypocrisy is real, man. You know what I'm saying? The hypocrisy is real. Probably no virtual private network or anything, live streaming.
Stupid.
Yeah, smart, real smart. But however, to quote the words of George Orwell that he wrote in 1949 in a book called 1984, police guard, you are chosen for superior brawn and lack of intelligence. This proves that.
Yep. So we'll keep y'all updated on but like Cruz said, I don't think they're gonna find them. I think they just gonna let them go.
They ain't gonna find dude, man. You know what I'm saying? He's got too many homies and cronies and people he's gonna extort and all this other type of stuff. You know what I mean?
He got too much tactical training for all of
that.
that.
That's my point. Yeah. And getting back to Hollywood, not getting off topic, folks, I just want to mention this tidbit information right here. Okay, it has come to my attention that they're in pre-production for Black Panther 3, okay? The main, not dispute, but the main issue that they're having in Black Panther 3 is Shuri going to be the queen of Wakanda, or is King T'Challa's son, who is in Haiti, is he going to ascend to the throne? They say, so I'll make it a point to check it out. Yeah, so we'll keep you updated on that out of the West in regard to Fantasyland, commonly referred to as Hollywood. You know what I mean?
Hollywood.
Yeah. Oh, it's real weird.
All right. So in other news, we had Sean P. Diddy Combs, the Diddler case, where trial was underway.
Yeah, Diddler looking bad in them drawings. Jaws all sunken in, he's gray hair. Yeah, Diddler, I think you're gonna fall, Diddler.
Rejects Sean Combs' motion for mistrial.
Yeah.
Dramatic moment at the trial of Sean Diddy Combs here in New York today, why Combs' attorneys suddenly called for a mistrial in that courtroom. Here's Aaron Katursky.
They won't get
Tonight, Sean Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, the star witness in the case, has given birth to her 3rd child less than 2 weeks after her emotional testimony. Today, the jury heard her former stylist testified he witnessed Combs beating Ventura until her head hit a bed frame. This graphic photo showing the bloody gash. Deontay Nash testified Combs looked at him and said, "Look what y'all made me do." The defense has argued Combs's violence is not evidence of sex trafficking. Today, his attorneys asked for a mistrial. The request came during the testimony of an arson investigator who responded to Kid Cudi's home when the rapper's Porsche was torched with a Molotov cocktail. He showed the jury pictures of a slash in the canvas top, a malt liquor bottle, and a burned cloth used as a wick. Defense attorneys have said Combs was simply not involved, and today they accused prosecutors of unfairly suggesting Combs was responsible for the destruction of 2 fingerprints lifted from Kid Cudi's front door. There's no way to unring this bell, a defense attorney said, demanding a mistrial. The judge denied it. Arson, intimidation, threats, violence, David, these are all part of the criminal enterprise. Federal prosecutors here say Sean Combs was running. He's denied those allegations. David?
Aaron Kaczynski at the courthouse again tonight.
Okay, so there you have it. They denied the mistrial. A motion for mistrial.
Yeah. And Diddy is on a no bail hold. Okay. But if they're going to talk all this stuff about Diddy, what about old Harvey Weinstein?
Oh my God, Harvey Weinstein. They let him go. No, they caught themselves trying to get him, right?
Yeah, but he still got charges in California he has to answer to.
Mm-hmm. I don't care about that.
I don't care what them fantasy Africans doing. They need a Killmonger movie. Oh, okay, well, Crew, you'll get no argument from me on that one there. Hell yeah.
Yeah, they do need a Killmonger movie. That would be super dope. All right, so then we got the dumps sweeping tariffs. And white folks selling their catalogs. Taylor Swift brought back her first 6 albums from the label.
Okay.
So the dump, you know, Shabaka, has been issued with all these tariffs.
Oh, yeah. And it did cause the chain reaction in the economy, Brother Che, as I had predicted months ago when he first came up with it. And what's happening is people are starting to get the message, don't buy the shit.
Yeah.
They say, don't buy it. That shit will sit up there on the shelf, man, and just off the law of economics, man, they got to lower the price on it or liquidate it.
Yeah, they got to do it. On this video.
Hey, Crew, I got a question with you, dog. Is Musk an African? Yeah, is Elon Musk an African?
It's funny you bring it up because there was a whole cracker that was talking about that shit. He's talking about when they arrived, the Boers, there was nobody there, so they claimed the land, which is complete bullshit.
Right, yeah. Mama Africa taught us that.
Poof, we discovered you. No.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, the hypocrisy is real.
Trump's tariffs reinstated by appeals court. So, I don't know.
What's reinstated by an appeals court?
His tariffs. Oh, that's the difference.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to find the video I was going to play. Here it is. 2 federal courts blast.
Well, I'm getting pings on my phone. Let me see what kind of hate mail I'm getting. Yeah, let's check the hate mail. Yeah. the hate mail.
Ways. We turn now to the tariff whiplash tonight, a 3-judge panel ruling that the emergency declared by President Trump to impose those sweeping tariffs, quote, exceeds any tariff authority delegated to the president. One of those judges appointed by the president himself. Then late today, an appeals court saying the tariffs can move forward, at least for now. Companies have already warned
Tell Musk to bring his white ass out here and sit in the sun with me today. We're expecting a wind chill of about 102 degrees today.
Tonight, tariff whiplash. After a federal court blocked most of President Trump's sweeping tariffs, saying he does not have the authority to do this, tonight an appeals court just ruling President Trump's tariffs can continue, at least for now. The tariffs have led to stock market swings, small business uncertainty, and now prices going up. Retailers suggesting they're paying the price. Walmart, Macy's, Ford, among
buy
them,
this
there will be
shit.
some price hikes because U.S. companies pay for these tariffs.
Don't buy
Tonight, the
it.
White House fighting that federal court ruling that called the tariffs unlawful. President Trump had bypassed Congress, declaring a national emergency to impose the tariffs, something that's never been done before. That 3-judge panel includes judges appointed by Presidents Reagan, Obama, and Trump himself. And they ruled that President Trump, using a national emergency declaration, exceeds any tariff authority delegated to the president. And then yet another federal judge ruling today, the president does not have the power to, quote, unilaterally impose tariffs to reorder the global economy. So I asked the White House today, do they have another route to do this?
Is the administration actively reviewing other avenues, other options to carry out the president's trade policy?
The president's trade policy will continue. We will comply with the court orders, but yes, the president has other legal authorities where he can implement tariffs.
But then late today, after both of those rulings, yet a third ruling. An appeals court saying the president can keep going with some of those tariffs for now, as the appeals process plays out. On Wall Street, the market rallying before opening when investors thought some tariffs would be blocked. Some investors have begun saying about Trump and his tariffs that Trump always chickens out. Taco for short. The president not happy when asked about that.
Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week.
And
What's
that
your response
Judge
to that?
Perot sitting right there on the right side of Trump.
Oh, and then I chicken out. I've never heard
she
that.
belongs
6 months
in
ago, this
jail.
country was stone cold dead. We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation.
And tonight, Elon Musk is done as a special government employee. The news coming after Musk broke with the president on his budget bill. Musk concerned about the level of spending that some estimate could add $3.8 trillion over the next 10 years to the deficit. Overnight thanking the president for the opportunity to reduce wasteful spending.
And David, we're told that senior officials here at the White House were disappointed by comments from Elon Musk saying that he was disappointed in the president's spending bill, that it would increase the deficit and undermine the work of DOJ. The White House insists that Musk did leave on good terms. I'm told that he will continue to serve as an unofficial advisor to the president, even possibly attending meetings here at the White House in the future, David.
Rachel Scott at the White House again tonight.
Let's unpack this real quick. So I think what you're saying, Shabaka, is he's not African by lineage, but on paper, he's considered African.
Okay, now, Brother Che, what we got here with Elon Musk is a, what do they call that? A paradox, okay? Yeah. Okay, so it's like how I was used to argue with Sarge, man, about the hummingbird and the bumblebee and shit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts. If me, you, and crew sat out here in this desert, and I believe it's going to be 108 degrees today, and Elon Musk, when he starts getting sunburned and what have you, are we going to call the paramedics for him?
Just going to let us just burn. I ain't calling
nobody. Exactly.
That motherfucker got so much money, he wouldn't need to be out there like that.
I know, but the question is rhetorical. Do let me say that. Okay, but the fact of the matter is, if he took his lily white ass down there to those lunch counters of Wilmington, North Carolina in 1963, would he be served? Would he be told, to leave the restaurant, will he have all kind of shit and food dumped on him and stuff like that?
No, he'll be walking with open arms because he got the complexion for the protection for the collection.
That is precisely my point. Move to the head of the class, young man.
But what Crew's saying is by nationality, they would consider him an African.
Well, I don't, because I remember the words of Mama Africa.
Now, by lineage, no, he's not an African, clearly. Not by lineage and heritage, he's not an African.
Okay, but also too, Brother Che, let's put a correction in there, and I'm sure you agree with this one here, Crew. Africa is a part of a word from Africanus. You know what I'm saying? The real name of the place is Al-Kibalan.
Yes.
Or South Africa, the real name of it is Zania. So this is why I appreciate Brother Ibrahim Traore of what he is doing.
Yeah.
And I might not be there with y'all, you know what I'm saying, just due to biophysics. But I hope often y'all's generation, man, and the generations after you, to see the continent reunified, and then not to mention all the ecological damage, you know, that has been done to the continent, you know, with the oil and things of that nature right there. And then old Sambo, when he was the president, you know, he set up AFRICOM, and then they had that Marine Corps general go over there, you know, the 4-star general with his Yassa Boston ass, you know what I'm saying?
This is the point that Crew's making. I see where he's coming. Basically, he's saying that Elon Musk is an anchor baby to Xania. Just as these tether babies are American, the ones that were, he's talking about the ones that the anchor babies, Shabaka.
Okay, I agree with that reasoning. Okay, I'll agree with that reasoning.
Elon is a melanated African. He doesn't descend from Africans.
Exactly, he descends from the Dutch and Canadians.
And he said they're
very like Africans, that there are very like Black American freedmen. Okay, now Crew, let's look at in Mississippi. Okay, M-I, crooked letter, I, crooked letter.
Yeah, race has nothing
to do with nationality. Now, Crew, will you please explain that, sir, to the Los Angeles Police Department? Yeah, oh yeah, I agree with you on that there, 100% on that there, Crew. And now also too, Brother Che, not getting off topic, there was a video, I think, oh yeah, that's right, you ain't on Facebook no more. But anyway, that there was a video, man, I think I posted it up on my wall, okay, is where they had 5 sisters come up there from the continent. The first sister says that she is not Senegalese, but she's Liberian. Then you had the sister come. Okay, you seen that, and then where the sister said at the end, where they said that she was the Senegalese. Yeah. Okay. Now Crew says he never spent no more than 8 hours in Los Angeles. I don't know what to say about them. Okay, Crew, we'll do a future show on that, man. I lived there for over 45 years. I got a whole lot to say about those bastards, you know.
The lap dogs.
Yeah, you know. And Crew, if you ever drive there with Illinois license plates, man, when you get pulled over by the LAPD, brother, don't put no bribe money with your Illinois driver's license. Yeah, don't put no bribe money with your Illinois driver's license. Yep. So now the thing is about Stinky Bird and Little Stink. Okay, I would love to see him out here in this desert, right along with JD Vance.
Then he moved to
right
Texas.
Along with the dump. Huh? Oh yeah, and Governor Rolaids. Yeah. Oh, Governor Rolaids. Yeah. Governor Rolaids. Yeah.
Texas get pretty hot too, Shabaka.
Texas does get warm now. I crossed the great state of Texas, and half the great state of Texas, they're in the desert, but that's when you're going into the transition of the topography from the desert into the foliage, the forest, the plants.
He has
Indiana.
Indiana.
He says he has Indiana plates and lifetime CCW permit. Trump gonna make it so I can carry in California also. Well, crew, get with me on that, man, because California stripped me of my gun rights.
Yeah, you used to be able to get them back, Shabaka.
Yeah. Now here in the great state of Nevada, you can open carry in Nevada except for Clark County.
Yeah.
So I asked the Las Vegas Police Department, I says, how come you can open carry in all the other counties of Nevada except Clark County? He says, too many of these motherfuckers coming in here from Los Angeles. I says, okay.
All right, well, let's get to the last topic, Shabaka. We're almost at the 2-hour mark, and that is Blacc Fatigue. So now all of a sudden, the queer folks, the translucent folks, the crackers, the caucasoids and Neanderthals, whatever you want to call them, they're talking about they have Blacc Fatigue.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great news. Keep it up.
He said, holla at Trump and Pam Bondi. They're giving folks back their gun rights. He said, look it up.
Look it up. Okay, crew. Okay. All right.
It's a big thing right now.
Okay, crew. I'll check it out.
So, what's it called? Jason Whitlock and Matt Walsh and several other conservative and conservative platforms talking about Blacc Fatigue. Now, it was a sister that coined this, Blacc Fatigue, which is basically stating that black people were tired of racism, white supremacy, and having to deal with it. And now they're trying to remix it like they did woke.
Yeah. Just like when I was down there in the great state of Florida, a couple of years ago, and old white fella came up to me.
Go ahead, Shabaka.
And, old white fella come up and says, man, are you familiar with woke theory? So this fool must have known that I was out of state, you know what I mean? And I said, explain it to me. Now, the thing is, people, is that when you are behind enemy lines, you must keep an extremely low profile. Basically, you have to isolate yourself. You see what I'm saying? You don't speak to too many white folk down there, but you don't ignore them either. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I saw the movie Till when I was in Los Angeles. My God.
Did you ever finish Goodbye, Uncle Tom?
No, I'm going to be finishing that there today or tomorrow, brother. Actually, man, next week. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got to finish it. But the thing is, though, is this. When you look at that beautiful black skin, regardless of the complexion, from jet black, like from South Sudan to West Africa, black man, I ask you, what is the first thing that you say when you see such a beautiful sister? You say, oh, God.
God damn.
Sister told me that she is God. Woo-wee.
Yeah.
My.
And it was a sister that coined the phrase Blacc Fatigue.
Okay.
So shout out to Torian. He's going to give us the update on what Blacc Fatigue is and how they trying to remix it now. So he asked a question on Twitter, white people, can you explain to me what Blacc Fatigue is? This inquiring mind would like to know.
All right.
social media, in particular Twitter, you have seen this phrase pop up recently called Blacc Fatigue. And really, it's more so popped up after what recently happened with Shiloh Hendrix. And now they're using her as their totem, so to speak, in order to uplift them in some kind of beacon.
You heard about Shiloh Hendrix, the one that got all that money on Gift Central for calling that black child a nigger repeatedly on video, on camera.
Oh, yeah.
So ever since then, even before then, but ever since then, they've been running with this, oh, we've got Blacc Fatigue. We so tired of black people complaining about us saying the N-word.
Really?
And we're so tired of hearing about them complaining and all this.
Yeah.
So there was a sister that came up with the term Blacc Fatigue.
My. So she did not witness when the nightstick glide gracefully upside your head doing the black empowerment era. She did not live through when all those fire hoses was turned on us.
Shabaka, you misunderstanding what I'm saying. So the sister that came up with Blacc Fatigue, she was referring to all of that you just named. And now these crackers is trying to remix it and flip it and make it something that it's not, like they did woke.
Wow.
Or feel like she's gave them some kind of freedom or pass in order to say the N-word because they want to also say it so many times without any type of consequence. And of course, by now you've already seen my video of the breakdown of freedom of speech. And if you haven't checked it out, I would highly suggest that you do.
Too.
But today I'm going to talk about the breakdown of this Blacc Fatigue thing, the actual true definition. And how I wanted to start it was with this. I decided that I was going to ask a simple question on Twitter. I said, white people, can you explain to me what Blacc Fatigue is? This inquiring mind would like to know. Now, as you can see, it only had a low view count of 114 views, and the post was only up for less than an hour by the time I was getting ready to record this video. So who knows where it'll be at by the time I get ready to upload the video. But you know what? I have the strongest feeling that even if I got white people to respond to that post, I have the feeling that they wouldn't even be truthful with me. I could give them a strong and potent truth serum, and I don't even think that would make them be completely 100% honest with me as it pertains to Blacc Fatigue as they see it. But when I decided that I was going to go and make this video, I said I have to do my research because, of course, why not? So what I decided to do was go onto Google, and I just typed in Blacc Fatigue. Like, what is Blacc Fatigue? I was curious because when I typed it in, I'm expecting for their definition of the terminology or the phrasing to pop up. But guess what popped up when I did type in Blacc Fatigue? Yes, you see it right here. This book. It is a book called Blacc Fatigue, How Racism Erodes Mind, Body, and Spirit by Mary Frances Winters. And apparently, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this book got published in 2020 or somewhere between 2020 and 2022, somewhere in that ballpark range, which of course would have been, 5 years or maybe even 5 or 2, maybe 3 years ago, before PC started to say Blacc Fatigue. And I started to say to myself, okay, this is very interesting. Maybe this is going to lead me somewhere. And by the way, Mary Frances Winters is a black woman, just in case people was wondering what her ethnicity was. She is a black woman. And I said, okay, now I know that it was a book, but what is this book about? And it didn't take me long to actually get a brief synopsis of the books, which read, this book is the first book to define and explore Blacc Fatigue, the intergenerational impact of systemic racism on the physical and psychological health of Black people, and explain why and how society needs to collectively do more to combat its pernicious efforts. So when I read that synopsis right there, and I think of how white people have been using it as of recently, maybe for like the last couple of weeks, I said there is a very staunch difference between the two. But I decided to go even further into this beyond what I just found with the synopsis of this book, because I said there has to be more to it, and more to it I did indeed find. The first thing that I ended up finding was this chart, this circular flow chart, and it was called The Unrelenting Causes and Effects of Blacc Fatigue. It says it starts with generations of oppressively inequitable life experiences and outcomes, unmitigated systemic racism, intergenerational stress and trauma, and inherited racist disparities in health. And the crazy part about it is you can start anywhere in this circle, and it's always a circular motion. So it's just a 360 thing that constantly continues to go on and on and on, like a hamster on a wheel. It just like it's like an endless cycle. So putting it in the form of a circular chart actually shows that it's something that just does not end. It just continues to go, opposed to maybe a line chart where a line could have possibly an end. With the circle, it's always in rotation. It never stops unless it wants to stop, or something is a glitch and it just happens to stop on its own. But of course, I didn't stop there. I went and did, let's just say I dug even deeper than this. And this is what I ended up finding. Simply, what is the meaning of Blacc Fatigue? Blacc fatigue refers to the extreme exhaustion experienced by Black individuals due to the cumulative stress of systemic racism and intergenerational trauma, which, as you can see, was mentioned on that chart. It's a term coined by diversity and equity consultant Mary Frances Winters. Now, peep that. It was coined by her, this Black woman. But let PC tell it they were the ones that came up with it. Sounds like something else, right? It's a term coined by diversity and equity consultant Mary Frances Winters. This exhaustion manifests as physical, mental, and emotional weariness, resulting from the daily burden of facing prejudice, microaggressions, and the need to constantly prove one's self. So that is the true definition right there of Blacc fatigue. For anyone who didn't know what the actual definition was, because I said to myself, if PC got a hold of it and their co-colonizing cohorts got a hold of it, then that's not necessarily true. I mean, look at what they did with the word woke. That was coined by Black people to be aware, to have self-awareness, especially when it comes to the world around us, and especially in politics. But, you know, PC got a hold of it and they bastardized it and have bastardized it for God knows how many years now. And they're going to do the same thing with this. Let them tell it they were the ones that came up with this phrase when it wasn't. This is a terminology that's been around for at least 4 or 5 years now. And they took it and they flipped it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they knew about this phrasing. But they said, you know what? We're not going to do that. This Black woman, we're going to take it away from her. And we're going to flip it into whatever we want it to be. And we're going to turn it into us just being tired of Black people, quote unquote, telling us that we can't use the N-word when we should be able to do so because, you know, freedom of speech. That's really what it boils down to. Imagine you bastardizing a whole phrase just because you can't say a word that you want to say freely, even though you can say it. But again, freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequence. And what did we go over with freedom of speech? The government can't intervene. You have freedom of speech from the government. It doesn't say you have freedom of speech from everyday citizens. And they still have yet to grasp that concept. But let's continue moving forward. So to add on to what is Blacc fatigue, this also came up, the key aspects of Blacc fatigue. Systemic oppression. Blacc fatigue is rooted in the persistent and pervasive nature of racism and its impact on various aspects of life, including education, employment, and the criminal justice system. Intergenerational trauma. The ongoing effects of historical injustices and discrimination can lead to intergenerational stress, contributing to the exhaustion experienced by Black individuals. Daily stressors. Black individuals often encounter microaggressions, face the need to consistently justify their worth, and endure exposure to news about injustice and violence, all of which contribute to their fatigue impact on health. Blacc fatigue can negatively impact physical, mental, and emotional well-being, potentially leading to chronic stress, depression, and other health issues, according to the American Heart Association. And finally, need for understanding and action. Blacc fatigue highlights the need for white people and others to acknowledge their privilege and actively work towards dismantling systemic racism, according to the author Mary Frances Winters. So even with this little rundown right here, you're also getting a brief summary of what this woman's book is going to talk about, should you read it, or if you have indeed read it. Now let's literally look at, not so much break it down, but just look at what I just read to you, which you see on your screen. When you read that, now how could one compare the true Blacc fatigue that Black people actually deal with and have been dealing with for decades, maybe even centuries at this point? How can they compare that, and by they I'm talking about PC, to whatever it is they got going on? That's why I had made another post saying anti-whiteism isn't real, and surprise, surprise, none of them flooded the thread or my post about that, and I'm not surprised, because even they know it's not real. But it's the fact that they feel like they're oppressed because they can't say certain things without getting checked. That's as far as their anti-whiteism goes, so to speak, opposed to what we actually deal with. Now, when you look at this and you look at what they have going on, there is no comparison. Like, if you was to put this on a scale, it would weigh heavily on our side, and they know it. But see, because they want to have the opportunity to say certain things or act out in a certain way and not get checked on it, I think that's the part right there. They feel like because they get checked on it, that's anti-whatever. And they feel like we're constantly getting away with everything and no one's checking us. Excuse me. But Black people have to be accountable not only for our own individual actions, which we should be, but also the collective. Like, how many times have we seen them post videos? And if you're on Twitter, you know what I'm talking about. Of Black people fighting or acting in a degenerative nature, and then they try to blame Black culture on it or Black people as a whole. I've seen so many posts on Twitter over the last couple of weeks of them posting videos, and these could be old videos. These could be videos from maybe 5 years ago, and we may have seen them, and they'll post them, and they could be completely out of context of Black people fighting wherever. They could be in a store, a restaurant, a theme park, whatever, and then they'll put Blacc fatigue or we're tired of Black culture. What they'll do is they'll put that, and instead of just talking about what's in the video amongst those individuals, then they just sit there and they try to put that on the entire Black community or collective as a whole, to try to plant that seed in, as in we have to be separate or away from Black people. And before I actually go into my next one, I find it interesting that they're talking about so-called Blacc fatigue, and shout out to KG, because a live that he did actually made me also kind of want to talk about this. Is that Kai Cenat, now y'all know I have issues with Kai Cenat, is doing this Streamers University type of deal or type of thing, and apparently some post, I think called Kick Champ or whatever the page is called, put up there that apparently Kai Cenat is doing these applications for people to become, or how to become streamers and all types of stuff like that. It's a lot of good benefits behind it, especially since he's like one of the most popular, if not the most popular streamer in the world. And they put up a caption saying that white people in particular were upset because they felt left out, because apparently it was catered to Black people or quote unquote people of color. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, that was a bait post, because from what I've heard, they haven't even sent the applications out yet. They just only dropped the trailer for it, for something that's up and coming. They haven't sent anything out yet. And even if they did, let's hypothetically say that that post was true. White people, y'all the one that said y'all have Blacc fatigue. If y'all have so-called Blacc fatigue, why would you want to be around other Black people? See, you're telling on yourselves. Y'all keep saying y'all tired of being around Black people, or Black culture, but when something is geared towards Black people, and not saying that what Kai Cenat is having is geared towards only Black people, but say like that it is, why would you want to be a part of that if you're not trying to be near Black people? It's the weirdest thing. But like I said, white supremacy.
I mean, what is Black culture? The culture that we created in this country. We created something out of nothing. Got it out the mud. We made something, made a way out of no way. That's Black culture. The culture of resilience. The culture of sacrifice. The culture of being the moral compass for not only this country but the world. The food, the fashion, the music, all that's Black culture.
Okay, now hold on one second, Brother Che. You know, I have to ask this question. Okay. Like Malcolm X said, so is hog guts commonly referred to as chitlins Black culture?
And that's part of it. I mean, we we made that. We literally made shit into a delicacy. Like literally.
Wow. Because each time I smell the motherfuckers, man, I want to vomit.
Yeah. You just gotta prepare them right.
Yeah, well, that's not part of my diet. But I was just asking a question right there, you know what I mean? Because, you know, man, like what the X-Man had said, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See, is a weird thing. It's when you break it down into its molecular level, it's very weird. And I don't know if they realize it, but yeah, it's some lopsided ish. I will say that much. Now that I've gone over what actual Blacc Fatigue is, let's get into the tiki torch part of it. I was going to say pitchforks, but let's get to the tiki torch of it all. And it's funny how crazy this picture, like this picture right here, just lives in infamy. You know, if you remember what happened back in 2017 when this happened, this was a wild day or weekend in August. I will say that.
Yeah.
And let's just talk about how PC defines Blacc Fatigue. And since I couldn't really find a definition of it, I just decided to go and type in Blacc Fatigue on Google and then put Twitter behind it. And I just came across a few posts. Some of them come from PC, and then some come from the usual, the co-colonizing cohort. So let's go over some of them right now. So we have this one right here from Clay Edwards. They says, I love the phrase Blacc Fatigue. It's much more fitting than racism or racist. I truly don't hate black people. I hate some people who just happen to be black as well as white. Well, what a backhanded statement that is. Right, I haven't mixed and mingled with enough other ethnic groups to have a strong opinion of them, yet it seems like he's about to have a strong opinion right now. A large portion of people have quote culture fatigue. 90% of the public displays of stupidity comes from one particular group of people, and it's the same story every time. That tells me it's a culture issue. See what I'd say? They always try to say they blame it on the culture. They can't see. The thing is, they can never just limit their issue. If say they have an issue with one black person, it can never just be one. It has to be everybody. And notice he says 90%. That, you know what? Let me continue again. That's why I say white supremacy is remedial. He says, my personal opinion is it's a lack of accountability issue. Everyone has been scared to death to publicly address the problems in the black community for the last 40 plus years, with fears of being called a racist, coon, Uncle Tom, or whatever other term they used to deflect. I've been standing up and calling it for 7 years and can assure you that it hasn't made my life easier, but I can rest my head easy knowing I haven't let the death threats and cancellation, which he misspelled, attempts to stop me from speaking the truth. So again, that right there is a long post of what they believe Blacc Fatigue is, or at least the PC version of it. Again, I just went over what the real definition is. Now I said we're going over the tiki torch version of it, but it doesn't stop there because I definitely have some more posts to go over. So this is a very short and straight to the point post from someone named John Shelby. They said Blacc Fatigue is everywhere. Okay, I suppose. We have this post right here. They go by the name of T-Mar. They said this guy has Blacc Fatigue, and it's from a video. I'm not sure what the video was on, but like I said, they could post something up there that could be out of context involving black people and say white people or whatever the case may be, and then they'll just say put Blacc Fatigue. Like that's their new code word right there. In case y'all are unaware, if y'all are not on Twitter, Blacc Fatigue is their new code word. As a matter of fact, I think I saw in the last 2.5 weeks since the Shiloh Hendrix situation, I think I've seen the phrase Blacc Fatigue more than I saw woke on Twitter. I promise you. I think it got to the point where I had to mute the words Blacc Fatigue on Twitter just to try to, I guess you can say, quell down of me seeing it, even though I still see it because of how the algorithm is. But yeah, I think I've seen Blacc Fatigue on Twitter more than woke in the last 2.5 weeks. At this point, I'd rather see neither. But with that algorithm, you just never know. Well, look at what we have here. One co-colonizing cohort right here, Damani Felder. And if y'all don't know, I recently did a bed bucket entry on that buffoon. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go check it out. So Damani says a lot of people have Blacc Fatigue and not all of them are white people. Let me explain. I can only imagine what he's about to say in that 1 minute and 57-second video, and I bet you it's not even the real definition. It's whatever PC says. But then again, that's who Damani is. He peddles whatever they say, and like a good old boy. And I'm sure he would probably take that as a compliment or as a term of endearment. We have another co-colonizing cohort, Anton Daniels, and he is in the Bed Bucket Hall of Shame already. It was a double header with him and Charleston White. Anton says white people are saying they have Blacc fatigue because they act ratchet, then refuse to take responsibility for their actions, blaming everything on the system, accurate or not. And it's a picture of a black woman. It looked like she has a grill in her mouth, and she's supposed to be the quote unquote typical angry black woman. And it's a video right there that he's watching of this white woman, I guess supposedly having Blacc fatigue. So again, Anton, I'm not surprised by his antics at all whatsoever. And last but certainly not least, we have Annette Albright. So apparently this is a post that Annette made and somebody was responding to it. Annette said on April 6, 2025, I understand this is not the reality for most of you Negroes. I'm not surprised that Annette is talking like this. If y'all saw the live I did on her, this is who she is. But she said, but my father's name is on my birth certificate. He was actually my mother's husband. So she's trying to say that, I don't fit in with the stereotypical black who comes from a single mother, with a bastard father or a person that doesn't know who my father is. At least my mother was married. Annette, a lot of black people's parents are married again, but Annette, she's still salty about what happened to her with her her substitute teaching gig all them years ago. That's really what it boils down to. And then someone responded with, you already showed your face. Nobody should listen to you. And then of course Annette doesn't let anything go, because if you bring her up or mention her or she gets wind of your post, she's going to respond to you, sort of like what she did with me, which is why I cooked her a couple months ago or whenever it was I did. She says, as stated, everyone has Blacc fatigue. Black people need to stop feeling that they need to say anything to a person and not expect them to fight back simply because they are black.
Anywhere but here.
For future reference, when you see one tweet, understand that I was responding to something and take it from there. No apologies. And Annette always thinks that she's doing something. And the thing is, she talks slick with like this only to black people. She never talks like this, as far as I know, or far from what I've seen, to any other group of people. She only does that with us, and she feels she can always just get away with it. But black people be clowning her. Black people don't be taking Annette seriously. I don't even feel sorry for this woman, and I can't wait for her to get her next wake-up call, because she's already gotten several so far. But the thing is about these individuals with these wake-up calls is they get them and they don't even realize, and they could be the smallest ones, or they could be the biggest wake-up call, and they still don't see it. It's like, wow, you just really walking around with your blinders on, just willingly walking right into those traps. But it is what it is. So really, in all, to conclude everything that I said here, Blacc fatigue is indeed a thing, but it is not, let me repeat, it is not what white people and those buffoons that I talked about at the end it has nothing to do with being quote unquote tired of black people. It has just it's a thing of black people being tired of how the system has treated us over the years. That's really what it boils down to. So again, just like with the word woke, they done took something from a black person, or a phrase that a black person created, or a terminology, flipped it and bastardized it and turned it into this. I'm telling you, they are going to try to turn, this is the new code word. They are going to push this Blacc fatigue thing for as far and possible as they can. And the thing is, they're going to have to push and propel so much propaganda in order for this to stick. See, when it came to woke, that was just the word that they used. And the thing is, it got blown so out of proportion that now that they start to use it when it comes to Hollywood. Yeah. But with this is now propelled strictly onto one group, because it now has a color attached to it. See, with woke, can mask it and say, oh, we're not talking about black people. We're talking about the LGBT. We're talking about Hollywood. We're talking about diversity. We're talking about gender and all this and that. With Blacc Fatigue, now it's direct because now you're saying black. They're not saying Asian fatigue. They're not saying Hispanic fatigue. They're not saying Muslim fatigue. They're not saying Arab fatigue. They're saying black fatigue. So now it's limited to just one group.
And I know there's a whole lot
and
of
like I
people
said,
out there that's
this really
tired of my ass.
because of the Shiloh Hendrix thing. That's where it started. So we're talking about when did that happen? Like early May. It's now May 11th. So they're going about 2.5, going on 3 weeks. We'll see where this is a year from now. But I just wanted to bring that to y'all attention. Y'all let me know
I
what
can
y'all
tell
think
you
about
what's
this
going
down
to
in
be
the
a year
comments.
from now.
And I
Look
will
at
talk to you in the
Shabaka's
next
black experience enhanced. Man, I'm so filled up with so much Blacc Fatigue, man. I feel like a battered brain fighter, man.
The actual definition, not this bullshit that they've been running with.
Oh, Lord.
All right, Shabaka, what's your closing statement? Because we got to wrap this up.
Yeah, wrapping it up, Blacc Fatigue, man. That's a new one, man. I'm gonna have to come back at a later date on that one there, brother Che. I'm gonna do more research on it. You know what I'm saying, and whatnot. Okay, so we took care of that subject. So if time permits, and this here is impromptu, folks, on our last topic, meaning it was put in at the last minute, but I think we need to recognize the brother over there in Burkina Faso, brother Ibrahim Traore.
Oh well, you missed Shabaka, but we've been mentioning him for like the past month or so, about at least a month now.
Okay, but he's got some latest developments, man.
Okay, what's the latest development, Shabaka?
Okay, the latest development, man, is that I saw a YouTube video of him talking with Michelle Obama, right? So to make a long story short, when the captain, had brought down had put down his resume, his history of the hard that he had went through, coming up, a little bit of the assassination of Thomas Sankara, his predecessor. Okay.
Yeah.
Just like what they did with Gaddafi, he's talking about totally being independent of the colonizer. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Have the colonizer shake the spot.
He got Russia coming in.
Yeah. And then the dump regime, they crumb bumping on him. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, too, now here's another thing we haven't discussed, Brother Jay, since I've been in hiatus, is the dump offering refugee status to the Boers. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Now, hear me out, people. Hear me out. Listen to me when I tell you this. If the dump grants them refugee status, right, they could only come in between the months of May to August and relocate them to the southern deserts of Nevada and California.
Yeah, they already getting out of here because they don't want to learn English. I said, no, we ain't speaking English.
Yeah, now. Yeah. Oh, they know English. You see what I'm saying? But the Boers, they're descendants of Dutch. So therefore, they're going to speak Dutch. You see what I mean? And what did our sister Mama Africa say?
Go ahead, Shabaka. Professor Black Truth did a whole story on this, a whole MOT on it about that fake genocide. Okay. I can play that real quick, and then we got to wrap it up.
Oh, yes, sir. And then on top of it, too, and he's talking about that Dumpster was saying is that they're being illegally. Now, here's the shit that fucks me up. That they've been put off of their land illegally by Julius Malema.
Yeah, that was some bullshit. And then the dump met with Ramaphosa last week. And even he had to check him on that shit.
Yeah, and Ramaphosa, you know, he stood his ground as best he could considering the circumstances, you know, so I can't fault him for that. You see what I mean? But the fact of the matter is that, as you say, Brother Jay, that dump represents it is racism, white supremacy.
Yeah, it's only less than 60 of them. Yeah, but he talking about he want to bring in 8,000 of them. The first round was less than 60, and they already like no. And then the white folks is like, look, we don't want these motherfuckers here anyway.
Yeah, and I say the dumpster can go on, do his thing, but the condition is they got to be placed in the desert. Okay.
No, I think they put them up north.
Now I'm gonna fuck with you a little bit here, Brother Che, but hold on. I'm gonna fuck with you, Brother Che, because you lowered your blocking hand for this one. Okay, is that it's 92 degrees right now, and you know, I'm just getting ready to get warm, so they got to be placed in the desert. Okay, and then they can be out there with their counterparts, you know, the rattlesnakes, because what does a snake skin do? It sheds, right? What color is a snake on its belly?
White.
Yeah, so they'll be right at home with their relatives.
Yeah, they putting them up north though. They putting them up in like DC. Where else? DC, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
New York.
Now. And then up there around like Buffalo and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they must bring them to the desert.
Right.
Yeah. Must bring them to the desert, and then what we will have is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
Boy, the hypocrisy is real. But guess what, though, people? That would not be hypocrisy. That would be a contradiction. What is true, which is called a what class? A paradox. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, so
yeah.
The dump snuffed the G20 over phony South African white genocide. Here come the Boers. Here come the Boers.
Good God.
If you're not already subscribed to this YouTube channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that will you can be notified whenever a new video is posted. And if you're already subscribed, check and make sure that YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you. And of course, be sure to give the video a like as well as share it on your social media.
Well, Professor, they fucked me around real good. YouTube.
And now the
all
Sunday
this
address.
social media.
Don't know if you've heard, but the Orange Man says that he's going to skip the planned G20 summit that's supposed to take place this November. South Africa holds the presidency of the G20 right now, and that's the reason why they're going to be having the summit for it there. And Trump has said that he doesn't like the way that the white people in South Africa are being treated as far as land reclamation goes. Now, as we all know, there's absolutely no land reclamation taking place in South Africa whatsoever. And all this chatter about white farmers being killed, that happens to be a bunch of propaganda as well. It's all BS. But Elon Musk likes the sound of it precisely because of the fact that he is one of those unreconstructed white Afrikaners who thinks to themselves that they're still supposed to be in charge of all of Africa. And this is Trump basically trying to find a way to score some easy victories. He's already withheld foreign aid money from South Africa, but considering how much mineral wealth that country has, they shouldn't need any money from the U.S. at all. Right. Look, let's not be dense here. U.S. so-called foreign aid is actually what U.S. diplomats and political science types call soft power. And what is soft power? It's all the ways that the US influences other countries to do what America wants without having to send in the Marines or resort to more expensive and risky measures. These countries are often run by corrupt crooks, many of whom were installed by the US, so that money goes straight to their pockets and their people get nothing from it. These tethers, they know this truth even if they don't want to admit it. So, when you take foreign aid money from the US, it's no different than Bushika the hood rat taking welfare and food stamps from Uncle Sam. You're showing yourself to be totally dependent on white power for every crumb of your daily bread, and that becomes a disease that feeds on itself. Africa is responsible for the bulk of the world's electronic devices even being possible. There's an 8 out of 10 chance that if you have a home PC, iPhone, whatever, there's components in it that originated in Africa. The world is helplessly dependent on Africa, but given how poor the entire continent is, you would never know by looking. The modern Western economy depends on access to Africa for its economic power. Consider that my long-winded way of saying that Trump cutting money to South Africa is good because there will be no African liberation until the Africans finally accept the fact that they can no longer allow white power to bribe them with their own money. You have to cut the cord at some point. What frightens white power is not Africans taking back their land. What frightens them is if the Africans no longer take white power's money, then that means that it can't get their hooks into them. It has no influence. They can't buy anything with the Africans. And yes, Elon Musk is whining about it, but even he doesn't want his kinfolks to self-deport to the US because that would be for them to effectively give back all the stolen land without a shot fired. So that bit of hot air from the Republicans is a non-starter. Now, here's what I want to know. Every time I or any other member of the black media calls out the utter weakness and helplessness of Africans, particularly as it pertains to white supremacy stomping all over them, we always get the same parade of tethers and even fools back on the continent who lie and claim that the Africans have these racists under complete control. You got Julius Malema and his party who are occasionally wagging their finger in the South African parliament, but there's nothing that's actually going to be done in response to Trump's insult to South Africa. Trump and Elon Musk have been taking pot shots at the South African government ever since the Orange Man got back into office. And how serious is the South African leadership about opposing this abuse? Well, the president of South Africa, who's the head of the G20 right now for this term, he's talking about global cooperation. This is just 2 months ago. Trump and Elon Musk were already starting the steady drumbeat of, we got to do something about those South Africans. What this looks like and smells like to me is typical white right posturing. They just want to find a way to get Malema to either be voted out of office, which is not exactly likely, or get South Africa's President Ramaphosa to bend the knee, which is much more likely to happen. But either way, they want to be able to say, we were able to bring this particular dog to heel. That's what the point of all this is. It's for them to be flexing on the South Africans and to watch the South Africans sit there and cower. And so far, that seems to be what's happening. Africa controls the bulk of the world's minerals. The African Union could easily put an embargo on the US. They could do just like China's done, decide, hey, you want to have a trade war? Let's have one. They could prohibit other countries from trying to act as a third party to funnel rare earth elements to the US too. All of those tech bros who were standing with Trump during his inauguration, they would see their little empires grind to a halt if Africa said so. But then again, these African countries are led by corrupt kleptocrats who have made themselves totally dependent on white supremacy that they can't even do what China's doing and leverage their resources to punish the people who are attacking them and humiliating them and telling them they better stop talking about land reform. I say talking about because we have to be honest, the South Africans are not about that life. They're not doing anything about it. They can talk tough to us, but we're the only ones that they do that with. South Africans complain about how Africans from other countries try to get into South Africa illegally. That's something that happens in South Africa. They complain all the time. What are these people from these other countries doing coming here? But what a surprise. We have a disproportionate number of South Africans fleeing to the US. Now make it make sense. Look, the Africans have failed to liberate themselves. We got to be honest about that. How can you be 80+% of the population in South Africa and 30 years after the alleged end of apartheid, the racist colonizers are still sitting on every square inch of land that they stole before so-called independence? And the Africans are trying to BS their way past the conversation using weasel words. Just like Haiti after their revolution, the South Africans are also paying reparations to white slave masters for the land that they're trying to get. They will try to claim that the ANC signed into law a measure that would make it possible to take the land without paying any money for it. But when the government spokespeople talk about that, they admit that their tough new law only allows them to take the land if it is just and equitable and in the public interest. You have the usual bad actors, by the way, saying that they're going to challenge this new law in court on its constitutionality. That's a perverse laugh. You can't get justice from a constitution written by white supremacists. But we all know the main reason that these African leaders are not doing anything about this is because these guys are co-opted 5 ways from Sunday. They get to run around and be the big man running around in a foreign-made luxury vehicle.
He's talking about, they said we only 13% of the population FBA here in the United States. But we make the whole planet bend the knee. We're the trendsetters. Everything that we do, everybody else want to do. But yet, these mugs in Xania is 80, 90% of the population, and they don't control none of the land, and they don't have no influence.
Okay. That's probably an assignment, man, for you and Crew's generation, man, because just off the law of biophysics, I won't be here. You all have a mighty, mighty task, man. You guys are going to be going up a 60-degree incline, but you could do it, okay? We, as 13% of U.S. population and the entire world follows us, but 1 billion Africans cannot run their own continent, and we should partner with them. Okay, now, Crew, I see your reasoning, but the people have to be educated as opposed to being miseducated. Say.
Shabaka. Education can only go so far. It's like you got the spirit of resistance or you don't. And a lot of them don't have the spirit of resistance.
Yeah, because they have been.
We have shown and proved over the centuries that we have that spirit of resistance.
And that's why do you think, man, they made it a point to crush the Black Panthers the way that they did? You see what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the Black Panthers fucked it up by letting all these other groups in.
Well, that's a fact. Yeah, that is a fact. Now, Crew, you got a point on that there. They're educated cowards and scammers. Now, keep in mind to prove Crew's point. And you remember, man, when we used to get them bullshit texts and emails, man, from Nigeria and shit. Motherfucker up there talking about, man, he got $1 billion in the bank and he wants to transfer it to you and then wipe out your bank account. Yeah, Crew, you got a point on that.
Yeah, I fucking fucked up my whole bank.
Yeah, because I argued with a motherfucker from Nigeria, man, and I told that son bitch, man, why don't you take that bullshit up there to Canada, take that bullshit up there to Europe, you know? Remember, the tethers say they are more accomplished than us, yet their homelands
are in shambles.
They are liars, cowards, and scammers. Well, Crew, guess what? I agree with you on that statement. Because I've cussed out a bunch of them motherfuckers.
Yeah. All right, let's let the professor continue.
Yeah.
When they got all the minerals and resources and manpower in the world to make their own. Look what's happening in China. They're not trying to be running around driving BMWs and Mercedes and Cadillacs. They're trying to make their own. A lot of people have been laughing about the quality of Chinese-made goods and Chinese cars. They did the same thing with Japan for the first 20 or so years. But what we see Elon Musk is already getting his nose bloodied by Chinese corporations. The fact that the former colonizers are even able to sit there and run their mouths talking about challenging any of the laws that the South Africans put on the books, that shows you there's a huge problem right then and there. 30 years after apartheid, and they're still trying to make excuses for why they haven't instituted justice in their own country when they're supposed to be the ones in charge. And these tethers try to make themselves feel better about their cowardice by lying to us and lying about us. Trump doesn't want to attend the G20 summit. He's specifically pointing his ire at South Africa. They should be the main ones saying, who needs you? But that's the entire problem, isn't it? The Africans have made themselves completely and thoroughly dependent on the United States. All right, now I've spelled out what the problem is, so what can the South Africans do about this? Well, the one thing that would be the most effective is to lead the charge to have the African Union withhold all resources from the U.S. and its corporations. This wouldn't send the United States back to the technological dark ages, though it would make it a hell of a lot more expensive for Americans to be getting their creature comfort digital devices. But the South African government has no political will or moral courage for that. Now, they could protest by throwing the U.S.'s own record of racial genocide against Black Americans into the Trump administration's face. After all, the 2020 uprisings happened on Trump's watch. But there's little chance of the South Africans ever doing that either, because the South Africans were the ones who went before the world to bring the case for genocide in Gaza. But in 30 years, they haven't lifted a finger to acknowledge or speak up on our behalf. The left corner of the white media claims that the reason for the South Africans' adoration for all things Palestinian is because...
Remember, Shabaka, when Mandela said, I don't have no involvement in what go on in America. I'm not getting involved in that. But yet, we sit up here in America talking about, what's the word? Johannesburg. What's the word? Johannesburg. Remember that, Shabaka?
Yeah, and then on top of it too, that's why they hated Mama Africa so much, is because she was talking about that. And keep in mind, they exiled her from Azania, right? Then when they allowed her to come back in, they barred her from leaving.
But shout out to Winnie Mandela. She was a writer. But
that's Namzamo. So I don't call her Winnie, I call her Namzamo.
Yeah, Namzamo was a writer, but her husband was straight up.
That's why they got a divorce, and I appreciate Namzamo inventing that necklace, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yep. The necklace, which was a tire around a coon's neck, set on fire.
Soaked in gasoline. Yep. Yeah.
Because Yasser Arafat and some other Palestinians supported the ANC back in the day. Well, considering that the white Dutch occupation regime in South Africa supported Israel, the Palestinians kind of didn't have any other option. But that rationale is weak to me, because there's nothing that the Palestinians have ever said in support for South Africa that was more important than what foundational Black Americans did. We began the boycott, divest, sanctions movement that brought down the white regime over there. Palestinians could only give lip service, but they didn't have the power to cut the lifeline that was supporting the white regime in South Africa. That is U.S. support. Black Americans, on the other hand, did have that power and that influence, and we used our voice for that purpose, and we are the reason that apartheid fell. And yet the South Africans were ready to jump out a window to stick up for the Palestinians and refuse to show solidarity with us. And that matters, because having failed to show any sort of unity with us during the BLM protest or at any time before it, the South Africans would look very strange suddenly discovering religion and starting to do it now. And on top of that, their jealousy at our success and envying the position that we have earned in the world makes it where their pride and ego will never allow them to humble themselves to this fact. This is not just Africa's leaders I'm talking about. I'm also talking about the majority of the continental population too. Not all of them, but 85% to be sure. And unfortunately, the 15% who have their heads on straight, they're not the ones in charge. Uniting with them would serve no purpose, because they're not on the same mission we are. Africa is divided from Black Americans and fractured within Africa as well. The enemy can see that. Why do you think Trump is being so reckless with his mouth? And Elon Musk doesn't seem to be concerned about any sort of reprisals in South Africa or any sort of consequences in the United States either. The Africans have been very politically immature. They could have been far more powerful and influential if they had allied themselves with us. That would be the natural move to make. Every other group around the world tries to make sure that they have inroads and connections with their immigrant populations in the U.S. Only the Africans have decided to try to go it alone. And we see how well that's working out. They insist on indulging delusions and daydreams about making it good as immigrants. Well, Trump is slapping them around now. I'd love to see what the South African immigrants in the U.S. or anywhere else are going to do about it. It reminds me of when Border Patrol was literally whipping Haitians at the border. I would have to give the South Africans the same advice that I gave the Haitians. Tell these white supremacists how hardworking you are. Tell them that you're not lazy like these Black Americans are. Whatever your South African slur for Black Americans is, go ahead and say, we're not like those people. Go ahead and do that. I'm sure that will impress Trump and Elon Musk and the rest of their racist pals. The phony tough guy routine is something the Africans have long done, and it's a false display of bravado that's never fooled the European. As I said, Trump is trying to find some easy victories. That's what Trump putting the squeeze on Colombia was about. China's not going to roll over for him, though, so he can't have any quick and easy headlines from them. But he is going to go after the third world and see if he can put the arm on those guys. And these corrupt and crumbling crooks in these countries, having never bothered to build an economy for their people, they'll have to eat this abuse. And before it's all over, they're going to roll over for it. And you know what? I'm fine with that. The orange man and the white supremacists are acting like white supremacists. And a lot of these people who thought to themselves that they were somehow on the team, if they go ahead and turn their backs on black people, and thought to themselves that they were somehow going to leapfrog us and white supremacy was going to help them do it, and that black Americans were going to continue to help them out and extend the hand of friendship when all they did was extend a hand to slap us in the face, they're going to find that that stuff's come to an end now. This is the reality and the environment they're going to have to work in. And if people want this abuse to stop, they're going to need to actually fight these whites.
Go ahead, Shabaka. What were you going to say?
Okay. Okay, yeah, what I was going to say was that's the part of what the Queen Mother was talking about in the 70s about neocolonialism, you see, and colonialism. Like, look at Haiti, okay? You know, Haiti's up here paying a damn colonial debt to France indefinitely. But this is why I appreciate President Ibrahim Traore, huh?
How long were they paying that debt for? 120 plus years? How many years?
Yeah, and something like 120 years, something like that, yeah. Yeah. And that's why I appreciated Traore. What he did was he paid off the colonial debt of to France. Now he's telling the French, you know, to pretty much go take a flying leap through a rolling donut. And, you know, we did the show, man, a while back, man.
All while welcoming in the Russians.
Yeah, I know. See, now that's the only dull part about that side, you see. That's the only dull part about it. Plus, he let Coca-Cola in there, see, which is kind of dangerous.
And then he said something about we can go back or something.
Yeah, he was talking about, he was reaching out to diasporic Africans to return to Burkina Faso. Because Thomas Sankara had said it that there too.
Huh? He at the foundation of Black Americans, or he just talking about people from the whole diaspora from.
He was talking about the whole diaspora, from what I understand. But there's this series of recent YouTube videos that he has made in regard to that, like saying about in the last 5 weeks, you know. But what it is though, and then too, and you remember where they had the 4-star black general, the Marine Corps general.
Oh yeah,
they were trying to,
Langley.
Yeah, and then I think what had happened was, and correct me if I'm wrong, crew, but I think Traore had told dude, man, we don't even want your ass here, man.
Yeah, because he said that AFRICOM was there to help. And we know goddamn well AFRICOM ain't there to help.
Yeah, we'll blame Obama for that. You see?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And shout out there to President Museveni, who kicked out Biden's representative, man, with that alphabetized agenda.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll take a. Yeah, he said, motherfucker, you still here? You know? We ain't embracing that. And he left there with his mouth held wide open. And they told him to shake the spot.
15%. That's that 15% professors talking about. Only 15% of them is fighting against colonialism, neocolonialism, white supremacy. The other 85% is just going right along with it.
Yeah, on puppet strings. Yeah, that is a fact.
All right, so there's like 6 more minutes left of this video.
All right, and then I'm going to call it a day.
Okay.
Supremacists, or they'll have to accept eating crap from them instead. And on a side note, people better stop and think before they decide that they're going to support the Democrats automatically next year. The Democrats are seeing Republicans doing all this mess, but they're not saying what they're going to do about it. Don't let any of the phony bravado and bluster from AOC or Bernie Sanders or any of the rest of these fakers and frauds fool you. Have these people said anything actually speaking to the anti-black policies that the Republicans have put on the books that the Democrats are actually going to tear down? Have they said they're going to dismantle it? Or have they remained silent about that like they have for the last 20 years? Republicans are enacting all kinds of racist policies under Trump at the federal level, but guess what, family? They've been doing the exact same things. In fact, they've been passing worse laws at the state level for over a generation now. And Democrats not only refuse to say that they will roll back these policies, they refuse to even acknowledge that they exist or to say that they'll fight them. Democrats complained briefly about the Supreme Court striking down much of the Voting Rights Act. But when Black Americans put the Democrats back in charge of the government in 2020, what did they do about it? They did nothing. Now, the way that they were talking, you would have thought that they would be on a war footing to prop that legislation back up and to reinforce it, and to litmus test all future federal judges or Supreme Court nominees to make sure that they're not Federalist Society flunkies. DeSantis and his cronies passed an education curriculum to teach children that slavery was a good thing. And yet not one Democrat has run on a platform to defund the state of Florida and withhold federal funds because of this. In other words, for the DNC shills, plants, and morons who don't listen or think so well, you didn't have to wait for the orange man to retake federal office to find examples of the GOP enacting open racist laws. They've been doing it since forever. What we haven't seen is Democrats pushing back, hitting back, standing on or reversing this mess, and punishing any further Republican efforts at performative extremism. That's what we're not seeing. Even now, you don't see any of them stepping forward and saying, these are the planks of our political platform. They're not announcing that this is the signature legislation that they intend to run on. See, when it came to abortion, they had no problem with that because Kamala Harris thought that she was going to be appealing to white suburban women, educated white suburban women, because this is what all of their state referendums on abortion taught them, that white college-educated women would be willing to vote for a Democrat, maybe, if they were willing to vote for abortion, right? That's what the working theory was. But as I and others in the Black media have explained to you, those white women out there in suburbia, they understand that their position in the world didn't come as a result of their gender. It came as a result of their race. So they had no problem voting to uphold abortion and then voting for the very politicians who wanted to outlaw it in the first place. And the Democrats are sitting here, even at this point, not even one of them is saying that they're going to push back against these Republican laws and policies. That's deliberate. They have no intention of doing anything about it, because the Democrats are also determined to see white primacy re-entrench itself. They're trying to help the GOP on that front. When abortion was struck down by the Supreme Court, Democrats began to support statewide referendums. That stuff mostly originated at the state level, but Democrats at least supported it openly. All it took was Uncle Clarence Thomas merely saying that the Supreme Court needed to revisit their ruling that it legalized gay marriage, and both the Democrats and Republicans during an election year united to pass a national gay marriage law at the federal level. All these legislative attacks on Black people, and Democrats aren't even acknowledging it, much less saying that they're going to do anything about it. And in 2020, we saw that even if Democrats are forced to say that they'll do something, as soon as they get in office, they'll turn right around and say that they're too busy, there's not enough votes in Congress, they can't get it out of committee, there's another war somewhere, etc. Trump's open racist rampage is increasing the pressure on Democrats to actually have to take positions beyond words, positions and actions to oppose this resurgent white nationalism. But that will only happen if Democrats are shown that they're not going to get power back unless they do. That's why there's all this hysteria going on about Trump and the economy and all the rest of it. Yes, the threat is real, but it's no different for Black people than it's ever been. So we're going to have to make sure that we're not like the South Africans. We got to stand on business as far as what our interests are. The Democrats can go ahead and tell us all of the evil stuff that Trump is and what he's doing. But unless they're also out there talking about what they're actually going to do for us, then it's all a bunch of hot air. And you got to wonder if these African nations have even noticed that neither their Democrat friends nor the white media has actually made a big stink about Trump slapping South Africa in the face. They're telling the South Africans there's not going to be any land reclamation, and you better just accept that. Well, then again, there hasn't been any land reclamation in 30 years. So it's extremely doubtful if the South Africans were really going to start now. But either way, they're getting slapped in the face, and the only way out is going to be for them to actually do what they should have done decades ago and stand up to these white supremacists and let them know we have the ability to put pressure on you too. We can get tough with you too. But that's going to require something from the Africans that they have not shown in hundreds of years. And that's going to be unity. Good evening and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Mr. Smith, Amir Miller, Minnie FBA, Kenneth Johnson, and Celeste Walker. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.
All right, Shabaka.
Well, Okay, on the closing thoughts right there, and then I'm getting ready to call it a day in about 7 minutes. Okay, once again, the professor is speaking truth. Okay, but you got to get rid of these brain dead, ass scratching, chicken pecking, Uncle Tom Negroes, not only in the United States, not only in Europe, not only in Asia, but throughout the whole planet. You see? Because you got to look at
in Africa.
Yeah, but keep in mind though too, Brother Che, is that the Belgians, the Chinese, who the hell else is down there? Of course, the U.S. Are all dependent on the British. Yeah, the British, the French, the Portuguese. Yeah, they're all dependent on the natural resources coming out of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Say on raw materials, that is, not finished goods, but raw materials. You see? And like I said, you can go over there to the coast of California, over there by the Golden Gate Bridge, and watch all them cargo containers coming in there from China. And then all the raw materials, that's why the Chinese is putting bullshit loans to these African nations and these puppet ass machines. They default on the fucking loan, then the Chinese go in there and seize the land. See?
Yeah, so that's what I'm worried about with Chahori with Russia. Because Russia could do that shit.
Yeah, exactly. I have concerns about that as well, too. So hopefully, Brother Ibrahim, could go ahead and flip it. You see what I'm saying? But if he don't, then the same shit is just gonna persist. That's not a contradiction, that is a paradox. And what is a paradox? A contradiction. That is true. You see what I mean?
So they need to unify on the continent, Shabaka. They need to unify.
I know, Brother Che, but you and Cruz generation, man, after I'm gone, man, that there's gonna fall in y'all's laps.
You're right, it is on the youth because Africa has the youngest population.
Yeah. And then keep in mind, what's the first thing that the white man sends in, man, to disrupt black unity? He sends in his bimbo.
Yep. K. Becky.
See, he sends in his bimbo. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
See? And as they say, and no disrespect to the ladies out there, there's no black power in white pussy.
Right. right. Yep. Because they get out of bed and go right back to white supremacy.
Yeah, exactly. And this isn't racism. What we are speaking is economical facts. Now, in my closing statement, let's look at how greatly that the black woman, on a 360 has contributed to the economical development of Western civilization.
First of all, we had to civilize these savages not once, but twice.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah. I mean, look at this shit going on with Diddy. Diddy thought he was untouchable.
Well, Diddy thought he was going to pull a Harvey Weinstein, a Jeffrey Epstein, and Hugh Hefner.
Yeah, exactly. Now let's look at Hugh Hefner. Untouched. Look what happened with Roman Polanski. He had to bail out of the United States indefinitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
See? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And all other kind of shenanigans going out there in the great state of California with that Hollywood industry.
Mm-hmm.
But they want us to kill each other, to be dumb-minded. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's like Dr. Chris Wilson said, it's about genetic annihilation.
Yeah, and the good doctor said this over 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And her words came to pass. The same thing with Dr. Marimba Ani about the Ma'afa.
A disaster so
bad it's beyond description.
Mm-hmm.
You see? Seriously. See? Dr. John Henry Clark. You see, as he said, that anytime you get these OTBs that want to join black organizations, they're not there to enhance the organization. They're there to tear it down from within. As you pointed out, the main benefactors of affirmative action was white women.
Mm-hmm.
But they call us racist. They tear down our pages.
Mm-hmm.
We control no police departments. We control no major industry. We don't control any educational institutions. You see, when I look at idiots like Larry Elders, Letitia James,
right?
Yeah, Leo Terrell.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? Ambulance chasing Ben Crump.
Oh yeah. Oh, much mouth.
I mean, this shit is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. But on that note, we gotta wrap it up. We almost about to hit the 3-hour mark. So appreciate y'all tapping in. We're back from the hiatus, so Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced is back in full effect.
And please share this episode far and wide, and please hit that Cash App. We need money, okay?
Yeah, big time.
We need money, people. You know what I'm saying? And we're kind enough to let other groups come up here, other platforms come up here and get their followings and likes and stuff like that. So please reciprocate. See, please reciprocate. You see? Now my phone is getting a bunch of pings on it, so I want to check my hate mail on that and all that old bullshit. But anyway, I'm gonna bid everybody a good day from Sin City. Come on, 7-Eleven.
So this is gonna conclude season 10, episode 22 of Grand Rising with Shabaka and the Chase, in conjunction with the Frontline Black News. Join us tomorrow for a brand new episode of the Frontline Black News, season 5, episode 10, part 1.
Yes, sir.
Y'all then in the meantime, y'all like and subscribe to all of our platforms. Frontline Black News on YouTube and Facebook, The Revolutionary Agenda on YouTube and Facebook, and Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced.
And please go to the new like page that we have of the same name of Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced. We got 50 followers now. When they tore down the old one, we had 1,800. So we're trying to get back to that 1,800 figure as soon as possible. Please check it out. Leave comments up there. And then also, too, they're doing a lot of open advertisement on it where they got these other content creators putting stupid shit up there. So I spend half my day of deleting and blocking them.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And then also, too, follow me on Stinky Bird at Shabaka capital EXP. And that is if Little Stink don't decide to tear it down and screw it up and what have you. Yeah, that right there. You know what I'm saying? Leave some comments, drop some knowledge, you know what I mean? And we've come a long way, Black family, but we sure do got a long, long way to go. So I'm going to bid everybody a good day from Sin City. Take care.
We'll see y'all tomorrow for Frontline Black News. Peace and Black empowerment.